CJ's fault.
And breakdowns from analysts and insiders.
Doesn't seem Philly is in all that much of a rush.
Listen to the Woj Pod wherever you get your podcast.
The 2024 SEC Women's Basketball Tournament is wow. I was born to win a lot. Are you ready or not?
14 teams on the hunt for a title. Unbreakable, unstoppable.
Yes, my name must be wild. Let's go. The SEC's finest battle it out in Greenville to see who will claim the conference title. The SEC Women's Basketball Tournament. Coverage begins Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern on SEC Network.
Wow. Coming to you live from the Superbook Sports Studios in Kettering. You're listening to Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Let's do this thing they call radio.
Let's do it.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. It's a Kenner and Kev show. We welcome you in. Dayton's ESPN Radio. How are you doing, Mr. Kev Nash? Welcome.
What up, though?
I was going to say, you have a good weekend, but it's a Tuesday. But we didn't have a show yesterday because of Red Spring Training baseball, of course. Opening day is a couple weeks away, which is wild.
Yeah, speaking of the weekend, I had a good weekend. Saturday, I did a Kenner activity. I went bowling.
I think you say eating.
I went bowling. I actually bowled pretty well, from my standards at least. I bowled like a 120 one game and then like a 130 the next game. That's great for me, by the way.
So I have completely forgotten how to bowl.
Really?
I usually have like a 190, 195 in that range. It's like a 150. And it won't stop dropping. I feel like my weight could have that problem.
Only if I could get up to 150.
No, I'm not joking. Great. Like, it pisses me off. It's like, I don't know what ticks me off. I mean, I've thrown this out there before to people. Like, which angers you more for our bowlers/golfers out there? Which is more frustrating, a bad day out on the course or a bad night at the lanes? I don't know. I drop the F-bomb a lot on the course and at the lanes. And at the lanes, it's usually more acceptable. You know, you're amongst people who usually, but sometimes these country clubs, you get a little fired up if you start dropping some language, because they don't cuss, but nonetheless. But I hope everyone had a great weekend. Man, we did the show Friday, of course, but we haven't been on. So, by the way, just so you guys know, obviously we do the show on YouTube and Facebook. We are partnering. It's official now. We got ESPN stamp of approval. I might have dropped the ball on letting the announcement slip way sooner than what it was supposed to, but I want to shout out Jeff Martindale and those guys at ESPN for not killing me nonetheless. But so it's official. We are officially partnering with Chatterbox Sports. Okay. So the way the show looks right now on YouTube and Facebook, we're just, we've tried to build this thing organically and everything. We're partnering with Chatterbox and we're going to be a part of their network starting at the end of March 25th. Okay. We're also adding a local show. Okay.
Local.
Chatterbox Sports will be on 2 hours before us, leading into us. Okay. So we're pretty jacked about that.
Absolutely.
We'll have more information about the details of that show, but it's going to be a baseball centric. It's going to talk all things local, of course. But it's going to be, trust me, folks, if you like positive things being said about your Cincinnati Bengals, that's the show to tune into. We want you to tune into us. You've gotten used to dealing with me, of course, talking bad about your Bengals and everything, but we are pretty excited about that. So I say that because we're not on the YouTube, Facebook, channel every day right now because we're getting some new stuff, built into the studio and all that. So just a heads up, we're on today. We're going to be on, every other day, basically with Reds baseball and stuff, but just keep that in mind. The inconsistencies there, that's explained why. But once we get all the new cameras and the new setup and the new studio, all of that, we'll be on every day on the camera side too, and we'll be telling you where you can take the show in as far as that goes. But yeah, some big changes are coming. But when that was announced a few weeks ago, I'm like, I don't know if that was supposed to come out yet. But ESPN wasn't very happy with me. But we're good. We're
conference calls and meetings and paperwork. Sounds like a programmer.
I have a lot of paperwork to do still, but
good luck with that.
And attorney fees and all that stuff. So,
I have the easy part of this job. I just show up.
Where do I go? Yeah.
I just show up and what are we talking about?
To be fair, when Kev says he has the easy part of this job, that's not, he has the easy part of the show. That, you know what I mean? But like the job is, his job is completely separate. But lot to get into as we open up today, because I feel like we haven't talked in a while because so much has happened. There's so much, like college basketball is officially ramped up to the point to where it's tough to keep up with all the moving parts. Every other night, Dayton's playing. Every other night, Wright State's playing. Ohio State basketball matters now. I still think it's too little too late for the Buckeyes. We'll get into Joe Lunardi's latest bracketology reports. The Flyers lose against Loyola over the weekend, and they dropped. They remained in the top 25. They dropped in Lunardi's bracketology, which whatever that means, but it's a good indicator to kind of see what line they're going to be flirting with when all that's said and done. Wright State wrapped up the 4th seed in their conference tournament. They're going to play a quarterfinal game against Northern Kentucky on Thursday night, a rematch from, they've beat NKU twice. So it's like, okay, your mindset is what? Well, they beat them twice, so you should be good. No, the fact that they beat them twice scares the hell out of me, to be quite honest with you. It's tough to beat the same team 3 times. You always hear it's tough to beat the same team twice. So we'll see what ends up happening when that's all said and done. But, we got Ohio State basketball, Dayton Flyers basketball, Wright State basketball. We got a lot that we're going to dive into there as far as that's concerned. But wanted to kick off the show because we have missed, a little bit of time. Top of the hour headlines. There's a lot of headlines, there's a lot of stories that I've kind of been highlighting that I'm like, oh man, I'm really curious about Kev Nash's thoughts on this and your guys' as well. So kick off right off the bat. How about this? So we've talked about over 10,000 college football players have opted into the video game, right? Well, there's the biggest name I could think of that has opted out of the video game, which, by the way, to tell you why this is a big deal, Sam Hartman, he did an interview at the Combine talking about he wishes he had one more year of eligibility left because he would have taken that one more year of eligibility so that he could have been in this video game. That's how much this video game means to a lot of these guys. But Arch Manning, the redshirt quarterback for Texas, the backup quarterback for Texas, he opts out. I have no problem with him opting out, but the reason the do-gooder stuff makes me nauseous. The reason, folks, that Arch Manning is not going to opt into the video game is because he's focused on football on the field, not off the field. Give me a break. But opting out, I mean, kind of a weird move. It doesn't cost you to opt in. It gives you money to opt in. Very weird move. That's
so I mean, there's a lot to break down with this opting out thing. So he is opted out. So I saw a Twitter message from EA Sports that says they have over 10,000 players to opt in. If my math serves me correctly, if the remaining people out there don't opt in, that's only 2,000 athletes from the college football ranks. So you have majority of the players opting in for that. That's one. 2, Arch deciding to opt out. I mean, I guess he got better things to do with $600 than to earn an extra $600, I guess. But my biggest thing is probably his uncle saw that 72 rating and was like, no, we can't have a 72 on the Manning name.
So the Manning family drives me a little crazy. They don't get, I'm not doing this to take the opposite side, but they do a lot of this do-gooder stuff that drives me nuts. For one, he gets good NIL deals, but he turns a lot of NIL deals down because we're good. We don't need it. He's focused on football. I can't tell you how many articles I've read about him turning NIL deals down. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's fine. That's fine. Also, okay, he's not going to transfer, but he's not going to transfer because he's going to do things the right way. He's going to, he's going to fight for his starting job. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But it's the Mannings speaking for him. He doesn't talk.
But to be fair, at Texas, freshmen are not allowed to talk to the media. So him being a redshirt freshman this upcoming season, he will be allowed to talk to the media.
He's been there 2 years, though. Or is this his second year?
This is his second year.
Okay. But that's how much the do-gooder stuff. Just stop. I'm focused on football on the field, not on the. What?
I mean,
you ain't even on the field. You have plenty of time to play video games.
Scribbling your John Hancock on a piece of paper and getting wired $600, that's not going to affect anything that you do preparing for the upcoming season. Like you just said, he has every right in the world to opt out of the game. By all means, opt out of the game. That's cool. Whatever. But just know at some point that people are going to start looking at you to say, hey, why isn't he playing? Not this season, because obviously they got Quinn Ewers coming back to school. But next year, after Quinn decides to go pro, people are going to be like, all right, we've been waiting to see you. What you got?
What you got is right. All right. How about this? A taste of the Masters. Okay. Taste of the Masters is being offered online once again. It's now available on the Masters website. Now, what is a taste of the Masters? It's kind of interesting. So when you go to the Masters, of course, they're known for their, I mean, you think, every golf event, I mean, they're just trying to squeeze every penny out of you, right? Well, it's actually the food and concessions is actually very, very cheap at the Masters, right? It's wild how cheap it is, considering how expensive everything is in the store, in the pro shop, and everything else, right? So a taste of the Masters. So you can go to the Masters website and order what's called the Classic Kit. It serves 4 to 6. It's $99 with free shipping. You get the pimento cheese. You get the potato chips. You get the moon pies. I mean, and again, let's see. The Masters coasters. The Masters branded wax paper. Let's see.
Some koozies?
Yes, some koozies. That was unbelievable that day. And it wasn't just once he said it. He said it multiple times. Anyways, Masters coasters, we talked about that. Like, so basically it's so you could throw a Masters themed party, but
nice.
$99. So again, it comes with some of the food and everything that you can buy there. I don't think they're sending you a tub of that chicken salad, or maybe they are, but no, they have the pork barbecue. Yeah. They send it all. It's kind of unique.
I like it. Especially, let's say if you have a loved one that's really into golf and their birthday is right around the Masters, what a great birthday gift.
Or if you have that 4-year-old that, you want to ladies out there, if you want your husband to actually help with your kid's birthday party, like tell him that you could have a taste of the Masters there and let him kind of organize it. It'll be the most organized, amazing party. TVs everywhere. Just get that little bouncy castle for the kids. Is that still a thing?
Absolutely.
That's how you could tell who was well off when I was a kid.
Bouncy house.
We can always tell if the family doing a little. Oh, we're doing well this month or this year.
You want a bouncy house? You gotta go to a church event where I was growing up.
Yeah.
It's like that's for big spenders over there.
Just showing off. All right, next up. Let's see what else we got here. How about this? So Caitlin Clark set the record again. I mean, she's just setting records left and right? But Ohio State and Iowa, their matchup this past weekend. The Iowa versus Ohio State game this past Sunday averaged 3.39 million viewers on Fox. It was the most watched women's game in 14 years. And it outdrew, like, people are making a big deal about it outdrawing the Celtics and the Warriors. The game that a team was up by 50 at halftime. I'm not trying to diminish that number. That's a hell of a number. I feel like you don't do the women you're not doing them any favors by constantly having to bring up, well, they outdrew the men. Focus on that 3.39 million viewers. That's where that headline should have stopped. I don't know why people have to obsess over, because then what you do is you start, well, like what I just did. That game, they were down 50 at halftime. No one was watching that game. Right. Like we could all, but yeah, more big numbers for women's basketball this season.
Absolutely amazing. Now, I do have a small issue with the way the women's game is being promoted. They're promoting it as if it is the NBA. And I think that's a major misstep. They're promoting their biggest star, Caitlin Clark. They're also promoting Angel Reese. But they're not promoting the teams that they're facing. Like, let's not forget, South Carolina is undefeated this season.
Yep.
Like, you should be promoting the other teams as well. Like, when South Carolina and LSU played, it was really all about Angel Reese and Dawn Staley. Now, we all love Dawn Staley, but she's a coach. She's not playing. So you should be promoting the teams, because these teams are actually very, very good. These teams are better than just, their one-star player. Like, South Carolina's been rolling for quite some time now. I mean, shoot, Asia Wilson, who played at South Carolina, won the championship. She's been in the WNBA for 6 years already. Like, so they kept on winning. So my biggest issue with it is, what are you going to do when Caitlin Clark goes to the WNBA, when Angel Reese goes to the WNBA? Like, I think they're missing the head that they could be hitting right now, because they're promoting it as if, like, oh man, this thing's going to end, so we're trying to get as many viewers in as possible. The women's game is different. Like, the women, quote unquote, have to stay in school for 4 years, as opposed to in the men's game where there's one and done. So, like, these stars on the teams are going to be there for year after year after year. So you should be promoting that fact. Like, we should be getting tons of promos about the upcoming women's tournament, about, okay, maybe we're going to get a matchup of Juju Watkins and USC versus Iowa, like the one that's headed to the WNBA, the next one coming up. Maybe we're going to get a Paige Beckers facing against LSU. Like, we should be promoting them. And then on the flip side, this is something that you talk about all the time. When you grew up watching basketball, the coaches were bigger than life. Can you name a big time coach outside of Tom Izzo on the men's side?
Not right now.
But you can name a ton on the women's side. We talked about Dawn Staley. We can talk about
See, it's so big names. No,
Mulkey.
No, I'm just giving Gino and
Gino.
Don Staley. And,
Yeah.
and the list goes. But no, you're 100% right. That's what we've talked about in the past about that too. Is like when I grew up, like the coaches as big as stars as part of that too. That's why during March Madness, a lot of times you would get like a lot of times when they promote the Sweet 16, it wasn't just the teams. It was Rick Pitino in Louisville going up against Coach Krzyzewski and the Duke. Like that's what they could do too. I get why women's basketball is doing that. They're trying to, if they could just get everyone to tune in to those women when they're on TV, the product around it, hopefully that retains a lot of it. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because if you do it your way, do you get as many like they're tuning in to watch Caitlin Clark, whether one way or another, as far as that's concerned. I've always said this about Tiger Woods in golf. Tiger Woods is a problem for golf. Tiger Woods is a problem because when Tiger Woods does golf, we talk about the numbers and the amount of people that tune in. Tiger Woods is a constant reminder of what golf is not anymore, and that's what drives me nuts.
Right.
It's not. I'm not talking bad about golf or Tiger, but it's just when Tiger golfs and everyone tunes in and everyone's like, "Golf's not dead." It is because that when he's there, it's something special. When he's not there, so that's what you're risking with the Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese thing. Is okay, cool. When they're there, it feels big time. So now you've set it up to where when they're no longer there, now it feels small. That would be so. It's what you're saying, just in a different light, trying to use another sport to kind of describe that.
And then the other thing,
Shaw, I know Rick Pitino's at St. John's. I'm talking about back in the day when Coach K at Duke, and going up against Rick Pitino, those bigger than life coaching names. But yes, Shaw, we're good.
And another thing, you talked about this. I think it was last week when we were talking about Caitlin Clark deciding to go to the WNBA, and we talked about Angel Reese's interview on the Breakfast Club, and she said, "Why would I go to the WNBA? I'm making more money in college."
Yep.
Guess what she's doing? Going to the WNBA. She walked at senior night. She not going to walk at senior night and then say, "Oh, I'm coming back again." No, she's going to the WNBA because those endorsement deals are going to follow her to the WNBA.
Well, that and she doesn't she's not very smart. Right? Is that what everyone said? We still don't know why she missed. By the way, that kind of weird. No, we don't. Never mind. We're going to sidestep.
Yeah,
yes.
There you go.
I just realized what I was doing there. That's not what I was aiming for, but I know where people will go with that. So let's just leave it alone. Kidder and Kev, 1410 ESPN Radio. How about this? We got a couple things to get into on the other side. We got Dayton Flyers, Wright State Raiders, Ohio State basketball hoops coming up around the corner. A lot of March Madness bracketology, conference tournaments tipping off here in the next 10 days across the board. It's starting this Thursday with the Horizon League tournament, Wright State and NKU quarterfinals at the Nutter Center, the final home game of the season for the Raiders. We did get our allotment of tickets to give away, so people were asking about that. We'll tell you how you can get those coming up here in a moment. But when we come back, a couple big things happened in the NFL. A big-time quarterback was released. Okay, a big-time quarterback was released. A big-name quarterback was released. Let's just put it that way. A big-name quarterback was released, what that can mean for the quarterback landscape in the NFL. Also, there was a certain tight end that was released that could alter the plans for the Bengals heading into the draft, a former Bengal at that. We'll talk about that when we come back. It's the Kinner and Kev Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
Well, the forecast is calling for showers and 46 tonight. Rain likely 53 tomorrow. Partly sunny Thursday and high 58. I'm Blake Schrepp for 1410 ESPN Radio.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6759. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6759. That's 800-575-6759. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Hungry for a great time? Maybe some great food? Then come on down to your neighborhood Submarine House. Try our oven-toasted deli subs, our mouth-watering salads, pizzas, appetizers, and more. And wash them down with a unique selection of craft beers while watching the big game on our big screens. With locations around Dayton, in Columbus, and our newest sports bar in Kettering, you're never far from a Submarine House. Subs, sports, spirits. Submarine House.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T.
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The patented key ingredient is something called Testofen, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again, at work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text Sizzle to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text SIZZLE to 42424. That's Sizzle to 42424.
It's Kubota Orange Days, your golden opportunity to score a deal that'll make your neighbors green with envy. Shop the year's best selection of Kubota tractors, zero-turn mowers, and utility vehicles, including the #1 selling compact tractor in the USA. And get the year's best deals, like 0% APR for 84 months or up to $3,300 off L3302 tractors.
Stop by Columbus Equipment in Columbus, Dayton, or Toledo to see our full line of Kubota construction equipment, or check us out online at columbusequipment.com.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
Frickers tips off the season with a trio of fan favorites. Frickers Street Tacos are back for a limited time. While you enjoy the march to the national championship of college basketball on Frickers TVs, you'll savor the flavor of 3 Frickers Street Tacos. Frickin' Chicken Tacos, Grilled Chicken Tacos, and Mississippi Barbecue Tacos are back for a limited time. While your brackets get busted, smash a personal pitcher of domestic draft for only $6.99. Hurry before time runs out at the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This March, Wendy's has some amazing deals on their hamburgers made with fresh, never frozen beef.
Like a juicy Dave's single for $1 and a fresh $2 Dave's double with in-app offer.
It's such a good deal, we wrote a little ditty about it.
Get it for $1. Dave's single, order in the app. Dave's single, get it for $1. Choose wisely, choose Wendy's official hamburger March Madness.
Limited time offer. Participating U.S. Wendy's. See offer details and redeem at Wendy's app. Account registration required. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S. and Alaska.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I
got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
KFC's new Smashed Potato Bowl is smashed with fries, mashed potatoes, cheese, and bacon. And it's only $3.49. It's finger-licking good.
All right, everybody, we are back. It's a Kidder and Kev show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. A storm's coming, Kev. God, this damn beautiful weather in the month of March. How about this? But then usually when it's warm in these months, it brings on a lot of storms. So
Indeed.
What was it yesterday? Yesterday was like I had to turn the air on in the truck.
What? It wasn't that hot.
Oh, yeah, I sweat easily. I'm fat.
You remind me of a brother. No, I rolled down the windows, got home, opened up all the windows in the house, let that fresh air in the house. It was great. Went out for a walk yesterday, saw people riding their bikes. I did see somebody in a tank top. I was like, that's a little aggressive.
No, I'm wearing shorts.
Yeah, you always wear shorts, though.
But like, I'll wear shorts into December, and then I usually take January, February, into
I have
March
a video of you in shorts in 20-degree weather.
It was a while back.
We were at Red's opening day last year.
Like I said, a year ago, dude.
It was like 28 degrees, and you didn't have a coat on.
Did not have a coat on. And that's because, and what up, Keith Bond? I hope you are doing well. God dang it, Keith. I clicked on the wrong way. We got to attack the advertisers. Leave the advertisers alone, okay? Come on now, Keith Bond. Where was I going with it? Oh, so that was opening day last year. We're doing the show from opening day again, okay? So I knew... So I was meeting some friends down there for opening day. We did the show there in the morning. I knew I was staying. I did not want to carry a coat around all damn day, especially with shoulder-to-shoulder people. I'm like, I'm going to tough out in the morning, won't be able to feel my hands. But as soon as we got done with the show, I went and started drinking at the Holy Grail. Then I was, it was all warm, ready to go.
As I always say, things are cultural, and that is one of them.
But then, like, where we sat was, like, in the shaded side. So I made sure to pay attention to where the sun was hitting during that game. So that's the seats that we aimed for the second go round. So nonetheless.
Man.
It's a Kidder and Kev show here on 1410 ESPN Radio. So again, a lot of people are making a big deal about Brock Bowers and where he could potentially be made available in the draft, right? And that since there's like a lot of last year's draft for the Bengals was pretty boring. No one really cared. It's not that they didn't care, but there really was no pressing need, or so they thought. That's where good teams are. Like, you're pretty set in a lot of places. You just add depth or best player available, that type of thing. Okay. And this year, vastly different. You're picking at that 18th spot, and there's what many deem to be a generational tight end coming out of college in Brock Bowers. And the Bengals need a tight end. When you look at some of the top teams in the NFL, you look at the top teams in the NFL, every single one of them have an elite tight end, and the Cincinnati Bengals do not. Simple as that. Many believe that they don't need the tight end, and I get why you don't need the tight end, because you have Jamar, you franchise T. Who knows what the Bengals are going to do with T when it's all said and done. But overall, it's a copycat league. The formula is you need to have a good, solid tight end, especially a good blocking one. Bowers could provide that for the Bengals. Some people believe they will not go that route. We've had Jay Morrison on the show, who covers the Bengals, basically told us that he does not anticipate them changing up their ways using a first-round draft pick on a tight end, even though the tight end position has increased in value over the years. So that's according to him and guys that we've spoke to, but on social media, national media, completely different conversation. But today, something happened that might have allowed the Bengals to get that get out of jail free card, as far as feeling that pressure to take Brock Bowers if he's made available at 18. Okay. So the Panthers, according to a report, the Panthers do plan to release tight end Hayden Hurst coming up on March 16th. The veteran is due he's due a $1.85 million roster bonus. And he has been linked to a potential return to the Cincinnati Bengals. I think this makes sense. He has proven to be a very good tight end in their system. He is going to be affordable, and there's all that extra money in the cap, of course, that, with the, as far as that's concerned. So I think this makes a lot of sense if they choose not to take Brock Bowers. If they sign him, I feel like that's a sign that even if Brock Bowers is available at number 18, the Bengals will not take him. If you're the Bengals, do you go after Hayden Hurst, or do you take Brock Bowers in the draft?
Both.
All right.
Both.
Good enough.
I say do both. I say bring in the veteran Hurst, and if Bowers is there at 18, draft him too. I mean, you just saw what the Bills did. They had Dawson, and then they drafted Kincaid out of Utah as well. So they rolled out there with 2 good tight ends. There's nothing wrong or to say that you can't get 2 of them. So I would do both, because guess what? Hurst, you know what I'm saying, he's bounced around quite a bit. Okay, so like he comes into his own, him being Bowers, then you can go ahead and let Hurst walk again after he comes into his own. So if Hurst is there available and wants to come back to the Bengals, I think it's a no-brainer.
Especially, depending on the price, obviously. But you're right, and both tight ends are very different to begin with, and that's depending on whether Brock Bowers actually makes that full transition to the NFL and it is who he was at Georgia as far as that's concerned. Here's why both makes a lot of sense, and I didn't think about it till now. You can have your cake and eat it too. It's not like you can't plan for the future while still planning to win now. Hurst helps you win now.
Yep.
Hurst/Bowers helps you win now, but Bowers is your plan for the future. I've said it before. You're not keeping T, Joe, and Jamar. You're not keeping both. I saw that Spot Track put out a tweet over the weekend that the estimated contract extension for Jamar Chase is going to be $30 a year, on the lighter end, depending on what Justin Jefferson gets. You have a quarterback making 55 and a receiver making 30. It's never happened in the history of the league before. That's going to be tough to make happen. Mm-hmm. They're not keeping T. Higgins on top of it. There are obviously debates on whether he's going to be traded still, even after being tagged last week. So I bring all this up because you could have your cake and eat it too. You could sign Hurst if he's available, reunite him in a system that he's already had success in, draft Bowers, move on from Hurst after a year, and now you have your tight end of the future who also could replace the production when you ultimately lose T. Higgins after this season to begin with. So that's kind of my thinking on it in mid-conversation. Didn't even think to say both, but good job with the both answer, because I think that does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and let's just play the other side. Say they do get Hurst and Bowers is gone at 18. I wouldn't mind them going after Kay Stover, Jaheim Bell, like in the 2nd or 3rd round. Those guys would be available. And I correct me if I'm wrong. Do the Bengals have the most Ohio State players to play for them over like the last 5 to 10 years? Because it seems like them and the Saints always got a lot of big time Buckeyes playing for their team. Obviously, Hubbard's there now. Von Bell was there. Eli Apple was there.
Lattimore's rumored to be, if he's a cap casualty for the Saints, Bengals are being rumored as a potential landing spot for him there.
From
so
one Buckeye team to the other. So
Joe Burrow doesn't count, by the way, just so we're clear.
Oh, he does.
Just want to get that all figured out.
He does.
Joe Burrow does not count as one of those Buckeye. He had to go to LSU. I'm just saying. But anyway, he couldn't cut it at Ohio State.
The Ohio State University. But I wouldn't mind that as well. I really think that is the play for the Cincinnati Bengals because, obviously Kelsey gets all the love from the Chiefs because he's the Hall of Fame tight end. But his name is drawing a blank right now. But their backup or second tight end, he made damage too. His biggest play, probably most memorable play in the Super Bowl was the missed block that he had. And then the running back fumbles the ball. And then Kelsey's going off on coach about keep me in the game, especially on those type of plays and things of that nature. So you just don't need one tight end. You're going to need multiple. This isn't the quarterback position where, only one guy takes all the snaps. You're going to need multiple tight ends. You're going to need multiple wide receivers. So I would say if this is a position that you feel of need, you need to go ahead and address it in free agency and through the draft.
Yeah, so keep in mind, too, the one reason that the tight end position has increased in value over the years, and the one, it is interesting how the cap market dictates how teams build their offensive game plans. And what I mean by that is this. If wide receivers are more affordable, the tight end position would not be utilized as much in the NFL as what it is. The reason that the tight end position is utilized as much as it is now is because you can get a player that produces like Travis Kelce for 8 to 12 mil, or for not 8 to 12, but 12 to 15 mil a year. Mm-hmm. You can get an elite pass catcher for 12 to 15 mil a year at tight end, or you can get Jamar Chase at 30. We saw it with the Chiefs. You can have a premier pass catcher in Travis Kelce with paying a quarterback $500 million that they gave to Patrick Mahomes. Okay. You have Patrick Mahomes making $500 million and Travis Kelce. And then you have, Tyreek Hill who wanted 30. Oh man, that's can't happen. We can't give a quarterback $500 million and give 30 to Tyreek Hill. we have another dominant pass catcher who we can give 15 to. That just makes the most sense. So that's why, although Hurst is an option and maybe not taking Bowers and maybe looking at Stover, some of the back, the reason that Bowers has to be a priority, I think, is because they're seeing that as a potential long-term plan, because we can't take a chance on a tight end. We have to go get a position that is going to be cheap, big picture. We can keep Joe Burrow and an elite tight end together long-term, the way Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are being kept together while all the money's going on the offensive line and defense. And that's where the Bengals have to keep an eye on that as well. The Browns pay a lot of money to their quarterback / their tight end as well. You could say, well, Amari Cooper, their number one wide receiver, is making $20 million a year, which was a lot of money 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
They're getting a wide receiver that's had 1,000 yards or more back-to-back seasons and has actually led the AFC North in receiving yards over the last 2 or 3 years or whatever, which is wild with Jamar Chase there, who's just missed some games. But that's the model. So that's what I mean by that is it's not like coaches are, oh, man, tight ends, you have to win with them. It's you have to build with them. Okay, you have to build with tight ends. You get a dominant pass catcher for $15 million a year as opposed to a Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, or even a T. Higgins in that $26 to $30 million a year. Simple as that.
Absolutely. And I mean, free agency starts next week. It's going to be hot and heavy. And I'm just curious to see where all these teams start spending their money before the draft, because this will give you a telltale sign of what they're going to do in the draft. Because let's say, for instance, your team needs a center. All right, you've been looking at all these centers coming out in the draft and like, oh, man, this guy from Iowa, this guy from Wisconsin, this guy from LSU. Like, all right, those are the top 3 guys as long as we land on one of those guys. And just say in free agency, your team drops a bag and go ahead and gets the number 1 center available on the free agent market. You can cross that off the list. But in the tight end position, it's totally different because the Bengals need 2. They need 2. And I will say this until I'm blue in the face. Talked about it last year. When they signed Irv Smith, they were down scraping the barrel because Irv Smith has not been good since he played at Alabama.
No doubt. No doubt. Skinner and Cap show here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Thoughts coming in the comment section. And of course, I can barely see. So let's go to this computer because my 34-year-old eyes struggling a little bit.
Bell.
It's right behind your screen there.
New screen.
Shaw says, and there's this thing that the tight ends do as well, block in the run game. Tight ends run different routes. A tight end will help Chase and Higgins. And look, with the Bengals' deficiencies on the offensive line, look, they had to spend $40 million to have an average offensive line. You're not going to be able to afford, once Jamar and Burrow get paid, you can't afford $40 million into your offensive line. You just can't. So if you can get a big-time playmaking tight end that can also block to help alleviate some of the pressures from that from the deficiencies on the tight end, that's the other thing you got to be thinking big picture. I mean, that's why baseball, you look at the way the Reds, I'm not comparing the Reds to the Bengals. The Reds drive me nuts with this because it's like, okay, do you want one guy that is average at third base, outfield, and second base, or do you want an elite second baseman? You know what I mean? You have to pick, but that's how the tight end position is viewed, as if we can cover a number of things with one position, we got to look into it because of the financial investment that is put into it, because of how much they're putting in other positions. So we'll see what ends up happening there. Let's see what else we got. Cav going through. What up, Keith? Keith says Bengals tagged T to trade him, is my opinion. Yes, there's a lot of reports that have come out that the reason, you had Duke Tobin that said, well, look, let's not waste any time. We know how much he means to the franchise and blah, blah, blah. Well, that's, it's one way to say it. The other thing that they're probably doing is the quicker we get him tagged, the easier it's going to be to trade him, because now once he's tagged, we can start our trade conversations right now, as opposed to drawing out the tag conversations, doing it a month or two later, and then picking up the trade conversations, when right now is the peak time to do it. The draft's next month.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's next month.
I think
it's
April 20th.
It does not feel like March.
I believe it's April 20th.
Holy crap. That's like a month away.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, I felt like draft coverage began a lot sooner last year. We're not even in the peak of it yet, which is wild.
Well, the combine was this past weekend.
So it's just full steam ahead to the draft.
Yeah, full steam ahead. I mean, I know the pro days are starting to be scheduled and stuff like that, but the draft, April 20th. That is also Oklahoma's spring football game, Booner Sooner.
What up, Reg?
What's happening?
Keith also says, I'd love to keep him, but if he won't make it fit, then it makes sense. Like, of course, everyone wants to keep T, but T can't stay.
Wait. He make it fit? What does that mean? What does he mean by if T makes it fit? Like, I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean.
Basically, taking the the friendlier contract.
No.
As far as that's concerned.
So that would be like saying, hey, man, trade T. Higgins to the Texans for a 4th-round pick. Make it fit. No, you're going to try to get the best value for T. Higgins if you're going to trade him. So, no, he should try to get as much money as he can humanly possibly get. My question for everybody out there that are on the side of like, all right, we're going to trade him. What do you think you can get? Is he a first round? You think you can get a first rounder for T. Higgins?
But the way we've seen teams be able to go out and get big time number 1 wide receivers in the first round right away in the draft. I mean, I don't know. I think if you're a team like the Texans, no, I'm sorry. No. Affording is one thing, but giving up. No, even if I'm the Texans, I could afford to go get a wide receiver out there. I don't need to give up a first rounder to do it.
Right.
I don't need to do it. We don't even need to do it right now. We could do it at the trade deadline if we have to. So, yeah, I don't know. I'd say, I mean, it's a 2nd-round pick too high for T.
I think a 2nd-round pick is perfect. A 2nd-round pick,
probably like where he was drafted. He was first pick in the 2nd round.
Yeah, I think a 2nd and like a 5th-round pick for T. Higgins is the proper value for T. Higgins. Because as much as I like T. Higgins, I think he is a number 1 wide receiver. But you can't put him in the same category as a Jamar or a Justin Jefferson or a Tyreek Hill. Those are like clear cut number 1 big dog type of receivers. Devontae Adams, I think he's like a tier below them.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And I mean, we've seen Hall of Fame players get traded in the prime of their career and not get first round value for them. So I think a 2nd and a 5th round pick, I think that's good value for him.
Let's see. Shaw responds, says the wide receivers in this draft is why I'd let T and Chase go.
Whoa.
You can't let Chase and T go. Well, hold on. Here's what I've always said. It makes more financial sense to keep T than Jamar. Bengals fans, they rip any media member that ever even suggests that. Oh, that media member should be fired. They're not thinking straight. They're drinking on the job. They're doing this. They're snorting that. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, everything, right? So that's actually common sense. It makes a hell of a lot more sense financially to keep T. Higgins over Jamar Chase. Justin Jefferson is going to go out and make 30 to 33 mil and set the market. Jamar Chase has already said, can't wait for Justin Jefferson to get paid to reset the market for him because that's where it's going to start. So that's what I mean. Like, Jamar Chase is better than T. Higgins, but if Joe Burrow is who you guys say he is, do you need the best wide receiver in football to be Joe Burrow, to win football games, to score points? I don't think you do. Look, they're keeping Jamar. That's not going to, but at the same time, I'm just saying T. Higgins at 25, Jamar Chase at 33, that $8 million a year adds up. You can go get a very solid second player for that extra $8 million a year. So who knows?
Now, I disagree with Shaw saying get rid of Jamar and T, but he is correct about this wide receiver core being crazy deep in the draft. Like it's insane. Like this receiver core is next level. Obviously it doesn't matter until it actually pans out on the field, but there's a ton of great prospects out there that you can go out there and get. When do the Bengals draft in the 2nd round? Bengals.
Isn't it the same spot in the 2nd round too?
2nd round. I'm not sure because of trades and stuff like that. 2nd round.
But he looks that up. If you're just joining us, it's the Kinner and Kev show here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Again, it's a full Bengals conversation. Talked about Hayden Hurst potentially reuniting with the Bengals after the Panthers. There's reports of them planning to cut him, and he will be due $1.85 million, to avoid that signing bonus there as far as that's concerned. So, a roster bonus or whatever it is. So with that being said, it got us to talk about what they should do with that 18th pick if they should look at Bowers, but then start talking about the franchise tag that was put on T. Higgins last week. Many Bengals fans believe, okay, good, they're going all in, keeping him for 1 year. Others believe that they franchise tagged him early to start the trade conversations, to get ahead of the curve a little bit as far as that goes. So what were you looking at?
It's not up yet.
The 2nd round, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that is. It's not up on ESPN yet. I wonder what it is.
But all right, it's the Kinner and Kev show here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Let's stay in the world of the NFL, shall we? This could impact the AFC North. This could impact Kev Nash's team. There was, I said, a big quarterback that was released yesterday. Not a big quarterback, but a big name quarterback. There's a big name that was just outright released. And it's not a surprise to many, but what could be a surprise is how sought after this quarterback could be, considering how cheap this quarterback could end up being. We'll talk about it next. Could this particular team end up paying the salary of this quarterback to go start for another team? We'll talk about that. Could it be Kev Nash's Steelers? We'll talk when we come back. Kinner and Cap, 1410 ESPN Radio.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Cordell Transportation has more advantages than ever before, including brand new equipment. That's right, plus excellent pay, benefits, and a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Apply now at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Would it be convenient for you if you could simply take what you wanted and leave the rest behind? Great, I'll buy it. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family, apartment buildings, rental portfolios. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. Call TurboTrack Realty today for an all-cash offer and speak with one of our friendly staff members at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
Frickers tips off the season with a trio of fan favorites. Frickers Street Tacos are back for a limited time. While you enjoy the march to the national championship of college basketball on Frickers TVs, you'll savor the flavor of 3 Frickers Street Tacos. Frickin' Chicken Tacos, Grilled Chicken Tacos, and Mississippi Barbecue Tacos are back for a limited time. While your brackets get busted, smash a personal picture of domestic draft for only $6.99. Hurry before time runs out at the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
The NCAA First Four returns to the epicenter of college basketball. Dayton and the Big Hoopla support our military community and aim to give back. Starting Selection Sunday, March 17th, enjoy a full day of family fun at the Big Hoopla 4-miler race and the Free STEM Challenge championed by Wright State University. Then tip off the madness with the First Four at UD Arena March 19th and 20th. Visit DaytonHoopla.com for more info. The First Four, Dayton, and the Big Hoopla, the road starts here.
Did you know that although our name may be Carol Works Tire, we're more than tires? We're one of the leading service centers in the area, from personal vehicles to fleet maintenance. We'll keep you on the road. Come see us at Carol Works Tire. Did you know that Carol Works specializes in servicing mixed fleet vehicles? We keep your business moving by tailoring our service programs to meet your company's specific needs. Let us keep your fleet on the road with Carol Works Tire.
Here's another remarkable success story from QC Kinetics. This one from Chad, who hurt his knee at the gym one day, and it just kept on hurting for months.
From my high school football and wrestling days, I already had a little bit of damage in there, but this just sent it over the edge.
Chad tried traditional treatments with no improvement when he turned to the non-surgical regenerative treatments at QC Kinetics.
It was really fascinating how they did their work, and the science behind it was very intriguing, and it works. Extracting the cure out of my own body blew my mind. It's like I'm brand new again. It was fantastic.
That's because the QC Kinetics natural biologic treatments use your body's own healing power to restore damaged tissue in your hips, shoulders, back, and knees, providing long-lasting relief.
Now I'm back at the gym. I'm 100% feeling great.
If you're tired of suffering with pain from arthritis or injury, call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325. 937-936-0325.
Get the best quality Dutch Boy paints for your next project at Menards. Save time with a fresh coat in one coat. Dutch Boys Forever Interior Paint and Primer offers powerhouse protection with its stain-blocking, odor-reducing technologies. And with Dutch Boy's easy-opening, smooth-pouring container. Transforming your home has never been easier. Save big money on Dutch Boy paints and head into Menards to get your paint project started today.
Save big money at Menards.
By now, you should know Audio Etc. has all the same sales and deals on TVs and projectors as everyone else. But did you know we also have some of the world's best hi-fi? Hi, this is Kirby from Audio Etc. And we do have some of the best home theater, high-fidelity gear on the planet. Not only do we have your favorite brands like Clip speakers and SVS subwoofers, but audiophile greats from Bowers & Wilkins, Kef, NAD, Marantz, Cambridge, Mark Levinson, and plenty of vinyl and tube gear. Plus exotics you only see in the magazines. Stop by today and visit Audio Etc.'s crazy cool showroom and see and audition the best audio and video it has to offer. While you're in, check out our huge selection of pre-owned vintage gear. A great way to afford great gear otherwise out of reach, or revisit old classics. Audio Etc. Sound advice you can trust. Audio Etc. 551 Congress Park Drive at the corner of Paragon in Centerville, or call 434-9770.
Audio Etc.'s crazy cool showroom.
When it comes to audiobooks, Audible has the best selection without exception. Your first one is free when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com.
Cav, according to multiple reports, the Cleveland Browns and the representative of Joe Flacco met at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis last week, and the interest for a reunion in Cleveland next season is mutual.
Wow.
Is mutual.
Coming on back to the 216.
I mean, is there a spot out there that makes sense for him to go be a starter? Be the backup in Cleveland versus being a starter elsewhere? Where are realistic starting options for him? Because I remember when the build-up to the Browns playoff game against Houston, I remember saying this on the air multiple times. I said, you want to know what the best thing that can happen to the Cleveland Browns is? And it was a wild take. I said, Joe Flacco just absolutely crapping the bed against the Texans. Because what Cleveland needed was they needed to be sure that was just a storyline.
Right.
That Joe Flacco's running Cleveland, it was just a storyline. It wasn't that Joe Flacco all of a sudden was an MVP candidate after being on the couch for the first 11 weeks of the season or 9 weeks of the season or whatever it was. You know what I mean? Like the Browns needed that narrative to either him lead them to a Super Bowl and deal with the repercussions later, or if they were going to be knocked out in the wild card round, it needed to be because Joe Flacco played poorly. And he played poorly. Now, the defense played poorly. The Browns played poorly as a whole. Well, what could not have happened was the defense, or the defense played poorly, but Joe Flacco played great, and the Browns could just look at it as, the defense is why they didn't win that game, despite being the best defense in the NFL. So this is interesting. You look around the league, and I see this report that just came out a little bit ago, and it's talking about the fact that the Browns and Joe Flacco, that there's mutual interest in a reunion next season. And then you got to start, talking about the Bengals and why they can't make all these moves because of the pennies. The Browns don't have a lot of pennies to work with either. And it got me to thinking, if you are a Browns fan and you could only pick one, and this is going to sound like a wild thing to throw out, Nick Chubb or Joe Flacco. Now, both are not paid the same, but you can't get Joe Flacco if you have Nick Chubb.
Right.
You just can't. You can't afford, like Joe Flacco, you're going to have to pay him not starters money, but you're not just going to pay him the league minimum. You're not going to pay him the Andy Dalton league minimum to come be a backup. Like, you saw the value that he brought to the Browns last year. I think he has leverage with them to go make good backup money over there as well. Like, I think, to me, Joe Flacco provides more value to this Browns team as a backup quarterback than Nick Chubb does as the starting running back. And I know that sounds like a hot take.
Wow. What if Chubb wasn't coming off the injury? Would you still feel that way?
Possibly not. Okay. But when I saw that Nick Chubb, I mean, he went out in week 2. It's not like Nick Chubb went out in week 11, and then we saw the Browns remain a top running team for a couple of weeks. They were a top 10 rushing team in football without him. They're not an elite rushing team without him. I'm not going to sit here and say that, right? Like, I don't know. I'm never saying I hope he doesn't come back. I always I use the financial logic in everything that I say on this show. That's why you guys think I hate on the Bengals. I'm not hating. It just doesn't make sense that you thought that at any point in the history of the of Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar being on the same roster. There was never a point where that ever made sense to me being a long-term thing in Cincinnati. Not because I was hating, but because it just didn't make sense. Nick Chubb does not make sense in Cleveland with another extension moving forward. It just does not. You cannot financially value the running back position. You could value him all you want, but you cannot financially do that position that way when you have so much money caught up elsewhere. You had a chance to win last year without Nick Chubb and without your starting quarterback because of all the money that you smartly invested into your defense and into your offensive line and tight end. I think that has to be the sole focus on that. And I do not trust Deshaun Watson. I do not. He can't stay healthy. I am finally waving that white flag as far as that's concerned. He cannot stay healthy. He just can't. And, when he's finally not being held off the field for 110 million different allegations against him, he can't stay healthy. And then I think what's even worse is when he does have a big game like he did against the Titans, then he's out for a month because of the injury. He has a monster game against the Baltimore Ravens. He gets everyone, including me. I'm ready to come in like, I can't use Vince McMahon's name, as confident as I used to, but, I don't mean to tie those two names in together. But the bottom line is I used to be very confident coming into the station after a big game from Deshaun Watson, and then he's out for the season. I have to see from Deshaun that he could be elite, not just 1 week, but 2 weeks and 3 weeks and consistently in a Cleveland Browns jersey. And until then, Joe Flacco, to me, provides more value to this team than Nick Chubb. I know that sounds crazy, but there you go.
I think you divide the fan base if you do something like that, because with all the ups and downs Deshaun Watson has gone through during his tenure in Cleveland, obviously coming off the season in the injury, we don't know when he's going to be back. So let's say he's back starting in July when everything's supposed to be, but he's missed OTAs and things of that nature. I mean, what's the biggest thing with Deshaun Watson all the time? Knocking off the rust. He starts out the first month rusty. What do you think that fan base in Cleveland's going to do? Look,
Valid.
I'm not a Cleveland Browns fan, but that is my hometown. And I have a lot of family members that are Cleveland Browns fans. They will turn their back on him and say, put in Joe Flacco, put in Joe Flacco, put in Joe Flacco. But what did we hear when Joe Flacco was throwing interceptions versus the Titans? Can't wait till Deshaun gets back. I think that is something. I don't think this will affect the locker room. Don't think it'll affect the guys that actually play. But the chirping from the outside for athletes and coaches and the people that, work in these front offices that say they don't listen to all the chirping, that's a dang on lie. They hear it all. They hear all the chirping that the fans do. They see the stuff on social media. I'm not sure if I was a Cleveland Browns fan, I would want to deal with that added situation with bringing Joe Flacco back. To your point, though, they did operate perfectly fine with him at the helm. If he's cool with being a backup quarterback, which I'm not sure he is, that outside noise. When you want an offseason of quiet.
Yes, what's that about? The mutual interest thing, too, by the way, that doesn't mean that Joe Flacco, I'm definitely coming back to Cleveland. I need to explore my options. If there's options to go start, if the Patriots are going to pay me good money to go start, if the Panthers are not Panthers, I'm trying to think of teams that need a starting quarterback right now. But if there's situations out there that make sense for to go start, if the Steelers all of a sudden decide to flip script and go that route, that, he's going to pick that starting spot over, being a backup in Cleveland. But if you're going to be a backup in Cleveland, why not go be a backup in Baltimore, or, whatever. So who knows? But all right, with that being said, you talked about rust. Let's talk about Russ. Russell Wilson. Just outright released by the Denver Broncos. In fact, the dead cap money, they're basically throwing it to move on from Russ. They are willing to basically throw next season away. Denver will not be good next year. They're not even trying. They basically will have two quarterbacks on whoever they end up, obviously they're going to probably get a rookie or whatever, or have you, but they're going to be paying they're going to be paying Russ Wilson next season, like $34 million.
Crazy.
So whoever he signs with, he can sign with another team for the league minimum so that he's going to get that $34 million no matter what. So let's say he signs for $2 million to go be the Steelers quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
He'll get this $2 million from the Pittsburgh Steelers and then $32 million from the Denver Broncos. He can go sign for $15 million to go play for some team. So no matter what, it doesn't matter to him. If I'm Russell Wilson, I go to any team out there and say, I'm going to play for the league minimum because I'm going to get my $34 million over here.
Right.
And maybe that ends up being there's a lot of reports that's a direction that you could potentially see him go as far as that's concerned. Maybe not Pittsburgh, but any team. All of a sudden now he becomes a little bit interesting. Now he becomes worth the risk. We bring him here. We pay him the league minimum. And now we have all this extra money to go throw and just load up the defense, load up the weapons. I don't know. He becomes very, very interesting when it's all said and done.
Yeah, there's not a lot of places. I know we're going to talk about this in the next segment about, where certain quarterbacks are going to play next season. I'm just looking around the league. There's not a lot of options. There's not a lot of chairs for starting quarterbacks. There's a lot of, opportunities. But shoot, even the backup quarterback position is being eliminated from the veteran side. I mean, there's no reason that Joe Flacco shouldn't have already been on a team last year as a backup quarterback. He should have been that. But how the league operates now is like, all right, we're not going to pay a veteran backup quarterback. We'll go ahead and draft a rookie and, it'll be what it be. DTR is a prime example. So my thing about it with Russ, I'm not sure if he has a landing spot. I'm not sure he has a landing spot from his play on the field, because his stats will tell you one thing, but watching the game will tell you something totally different. And then obviously the outside noise. And now this isn't the outside noise that some other players come with, but Russ has a unique personality. Obviously he's married to an R&B singer who has, fans and followers and things of that nature. So that's going to come with it. So it's kind of like you always talk about, is the juice worth the squeeze? I'm not sure Russ is worth the squeeze anymore.
If you had to pick right now, Flacco or Russ, who you picking to be a backup?
Flacco.
Flacco?
Flacco. Okay. Hands down.
All right.
Hands down. No matter the team.
Kinner and Kev Show, 1410 ESPN Radio.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Frickers tips off the season with a trio of fan favorites. Frickers Street Tacos are back for a limited time. While you enjoy the march to the national championship of college basketball on Frickers TVs, you'll savor the flavor of 3 Frickers Street Tacos. Frickin' Chicken Tacos, Grilled Chicken Tacos, and Mississippi Barbecue Tacos are back for a limited time. While your brackets get busted, smash a personal pitcher of domestic draft for only $6.99. Hurry before time runs out at the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
The road starts here on Selection Sunday, March 17th. The Big Hoopla events return to salute Dayton's rich basketball history. We tip off the family fun with the Big Hoopla 4-miler, 9 a.m. at the University of Dayton softball fields. All participants receive a Soft Tech tee, custom finisher medal, free race photos, and tons of post-race food. Register today at DaytonHoopla.com. The Big Hoopla 4-miler, Sunday, March 17th.
Have you heard? Bath Creations has moved to their new location and showroom at 8741 North Kimmel Road in Clayton. This gives you even more opportunity to see the incredible amenities and craftsmanship Bath Creation offers. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful, modern bathroom that is safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save an additional $500 off your purchase. Visit at 8741 North Kimmel Road in Clayton or online at mybathcreations.com and get a new bath today.
Hungry for a great time? Maybe some great food? Then come on down to your neighborhood Submarine House. Try our oven-toasted deli subs, our mouth-watering salads, pizzas, appetizers, and more. And wash them down with a unique selection of craft beers while watching the big game on our big screens. With locations around Dayton, in Columbus, and our newest sports bar in Kettering, you're never far from a Submarine House. Subs, sports, spirits. Submarine House.
KFC's new Smashed Potato Bowl is smashed with fries, mashed potatoes, cheese, and bacon. And it's only $3.49. It's finger-licking good.
Coming to you live from the Superbook Sports Studios in Kettering. You're listening to Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
number 2. It's the Kinner and Kev show here on 1410 ESPN Radio. So, Browns fans not happy with me.
Why?
They hate my Joe Flacco, Nick Chubb take. Obviously, Nick Chubb is way better at his position than Joe Flacco is at his. But we saw when Deshaun Watson went out last season, well, sure, you had DTR go in and they beat the Niners. They didn't beat the Niners because of him. We saw, who was the other backup? Why am I drawing a blank on the other backup? I mean, how many different backups did they have last year? I mean, they went with 4 different quarterbacks last year. The bottom line is there was only one quarterback that replaced Deshaun Watson, P.J. Walker. P.J. Walker was a quarterback on the roster that beat some good teams. He wasn't why they were beating some good teams. He was why they lost some good, obviously, beating the Steelers with the backup quarterback. They didn't beat the Steelers because of the backup quarterback. It was just, it was ugly offensive football between both teams, right? When Joe Flacco got put out there, all of a sudden it was a completely different ball game. They went from looking like a team that, well, maybe they could sneak into the playoffs with Deshaun out, with DTR and those guys, to, remember, the Browns were being viewed as a Super Bowl contender heading in. Mm-hmm. That wasn't just me being a homer. It was because of how dominant the defense was. They were averaging 30 points per game. They were a top 10 rushing team in football. And that was because of Joe Flacco. And they were doing that in the absence of Nick Chubb. Not saying Nick Chubb is not good. Nick Chubb he's honestly, if he doesn't go, he was the best running back in the NFL is how he was being labeled as before going down after that cheap shot. After that injury against the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? So at the end of the day, I don't think it's that hot of a take to say that the Browns, who cannot afford to go the Joe Flacco route with Nick Chubb, if you could only pick one or the other, Joe Flacco is more valuable to the Cleveland Browns because we've yet to see Deshaun Watson be able to play an elite game back-to-back weeks. Nick Chubb goes out for the entire season. They're still a top 10 rushing team in football. As flashy? No. As dominant? No. But you don't have to be a dominant run team in the NFL. But a top 10 run team in the NFL with the number 1 defense in the NFL, averaging 30 points per game in the NFL, that's how you become a Super Bowl contender. To me, Joe Flacco has more value to the Browns than Nick Chubb. But we talked about it's not just a black and white issue. It's there's a lot of gray in there, right? Mm-hmm. It's bigger than just that. I get it, but I don't think I'm just throwing out that for a hot take. There's some logic behind it. But where will where will Joe Flacco end up? That's the big question. But not just Joe Flacco, Kev. A lot of quarterbacks. There's a lot of quarterbacks. You made a list, right? You made a list as far as that's concerned of where a lot of these quarterbacks could end up next season.
Yeah, a laundry list of guys out there. Obviously, the guys that's in the draft, but there's a lot of free agent guys and a lot of guys that are on the trade block. A guy that's been talked about ad nauseum is Justin Fields. Oh my goodness! Look, he's a Buckeye. We love him and everything like that. But goodness, man. You will act like he's Joe Montana the way he's getting talked about. I've never seen somebody get talked about this much that has done as average as you can be as a starting quarterback in the NFL. But we'll start with the young guys that are going to come into the NFL. Caleb Williams, where do you think Caleb's going to play his football next year?
Ultimately, look, with all the talk of Justin Fields going elsewhere, the only reason there's all those talks of him going elsewhere is because it's a lock that the Bears are taking Caleb Williams at number 1, right? I think that one's, say, easy. Nothing's ever guaranteed, but there's a reason that the Bears have not come out and solidified their stance on Justin Fields or Caleb Williams, even though all the signs are pointing towards going with Caleb Williams. He ultimately is going to end up being the Chicago Bears quarterback when it's all said and done. But the Bears just ripped this Band-Aid off. Justin Fields, thank you for what you did during this stretch. It didn't work out. Best of luck in your future endeavors. And now you got the Bears are messing this up. You talked earlier about college basketball on the women's side not doing a good job marketing this. The Bengals did a good job as this as anyone. They let it be known it was Burrow. They let it be known, and it was Burrow mania. And they kind of spearheaded the draft going in, building around that, so the hype was there. The Bears are screwing this up. They should just let it be known. We want Caleb Williams. We know who our franchise quarterback is. Let the fans get excited. Let the NFL wrap their arms around it. The Bengals were a joke of an organization. They draft Joe Burrow, and then all of a sudden you think the same people that were on the staff before Joe Burrow and now they're after all of a sudden just magically learned how to manage a football team. No, the best thing you could do is find your franchise quarterback, and that has been an issue that has plagued the Bears this whole time. The Chicago Bears get Caleb Williams when it's all said and done. They're just doing a bad job embracing this, in my opinion.
I agree that they're going to draft Caleb Williams. As much as I would love to see him go, to his hometown, Washington, D.C., play for the Commanders, play for his former quarterback coach at USC. Like it fits like a glove. But you're right. The Chicago Bears are in desperate need of a starting quarterback because they're ultimately going to trade Justin Fields. Granted, there's a lot of other guys out there. I may personally think that Jaden Daniels is a better quarterback, but I'm not working with the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears are making his pick, and Caleb has been the guy since he took over for Spencer Rattler as a true freshman out there at Oklahoma. So ultimately, I think that's where he's going to go. And I did make a small blunder. The draft is April 25th through the 27th up there in Detroit Rock City. So just wanted to make that correction. All right. Speaking of Jaden Daniels, where do you think he's going to play?
Jaden Daniels, again, let me see this draft order real quick because, the Patriots they have a ton of options, right? Like, and it sounds like there was rumblings for a while that if Bill Belichick stayed there, that Joe Flacco was going to be the quarterback that they targeted in the offseason. Well, he's no longer there. Mayo has already made it be known that they're going to be being aggressive and going after quarterback. J.J. McCarthy's an interesting one, but Washington at number 2. Look, if you are going after a quarterback like Caleb Williams, a quarterback that is very similar to him, playmaking ability-wise, to me, I think Washington takes him at number 2. I think Daniels goes number 2 to Washington. If somehow he slips there, I could see the Patriots going that route. But nonetheless, after the Patriots, you have a couple teams who have their quarterback, Kyler Murray, you have Justin Herbert. The Giants are there at 6, so that's interesting. But I think Daniels ultimately ends up with Washington.
I agree. If you look at everything that Cliff Kingsbury has worked with in his past, it's been guys that can, move in the pocket and extend plays with their legs. I know a lot of people didn't watch Patrick Mahomes in college. First time they heard Patrick Mahomes' name was when he got drafted by the Chiefs. But he played at Texas Tech. He put up tons and tons and tons of numbers with his arm and his legs. He did the same thing with Caleb Williams out there at USC this past season. He moved on from a drop back passer to draft Kyler Murray with the Arizona Cardinals when he was their head coach. I think getting Jaden Daniels with him in DC, I think is a perfect fit.
It's Ken and Kev show here on 1410 ESPN Radio. So many quarterbacks about to be drafted, free agents, trades, all that stuff. Where will these names end up? Who's next on this list?
Let's go to the cheaters. J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy, national champion at the University of Michigan. I believe he only lost one game as a starter. Correct me if I'm wrong, Shaw. But, it's a lot of talk about him. There's so much talk about him because they talk about the system that he played in. He's a team guy. He could throw the ball a lot better than he showed at Michigan. He just wasn't given those opportunities. Well, he was given the opportunity over the weekend at the NFL Combine, some high throws, but let's be real. These receivers he has zero rapport with outside of Roman Wilson. Those are the only guy that he had rapport with they was throwing passes to. And oddly enough, those passes were on the money. Where do you think JJ's going to land?
Sean said 27-1. He came in hot. He came in right away.
I said I didn't know. I said
no. He didn't come in hot. He you asked him. He delivered. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Sean.
But leave my guy Shaw alone. What's wrong with you? Why are you always attacking Shaw? So this is wild. So Michigan winning the national championship throws a wrench in my argument against all the people out there that said, that they've been holding him back because he didn't fit the system. And I've said before, if Joe Burrow, the Joe Burrow at LSU that last year, the guy that was throwing it all over the field. You mean to tell me that if Michigan had that Joe Burrow, that they would still just hand it off, Joe B. Just hand it off. We know you could throw. We know you could score a lot of points. We don't want to score a ton of points like that. We just want to hand it off and be boring. It's because it's the offense. I've had a hard time believing that if Michigan had a Joe Burrow or a Justin Fields or an elite level quarterback like that they would just hand it off over and over and over. Well, then winning a national championship, it's kind of hard for me to say that it was malpractice as far as that's concerned. Now, if he is that guy, and let's say they did not win a national championship, and there was a lot of people speculating that the offense wasn't run properly, now you're doing a disservice to him. But they ended up winning a national championship. That's what the combine and these workouts are used for, is to be able to kind of branch out a bit. So a lot of times NBA players, you look at their stats in college, and they average like 7 or 8 a game, a couple rebounds, and then they go on to be superstars in the NBA. It's because it's a different style. Yeah. So I completely get that, Shaw. I know we've had our arguments before, but every report that's coming out might have egg on my face because everyone is drooling over this kid.
Right.
Saying that he has the arm talent of a Joe Burrow and guys like that. I don't know, man. Look, the last Michigan quarterback that went to New England ended up having a nice couple decade-long dynasty run. I'm not saying that's going to be J.J. McCarthy with the Patriots, but I see him going number 3.
Wow.
I see him going number 3 over Drake May. Drake May's getting on the love. Drake May's going to get that Sam Darnold treatment that was getting all the love early on. There's always a name every year that drops and a name that always moves up. And it was Baker Mayfield years ago. Darnold and him flipped, and I think Drake May and McCarthy. McCarthy's the one getting that media kiss right now, and I think that's what this is coming down to. I say hit New England number 3.
Not bad. I say the Denver Broncos trade up over the Minnesota Vikings to grab him. He's a very accurate quarterback. When
Drew Brees
was the quarterback, he was a very accurate quarterback, but you add in his accurate arm with his ability to move not only in the pocket, but he can make plays with his legs a little bit. I think that would be a perfect landing spot for him out there in Denver. Start out fresh. You go off a rush like you just talked about. They release Rush. You're starting anew. You get a brand new rookie quarterback. So I think the Denver Broncos are going to trade up ahead of the Minnesota Vikings. But if the Minnesota Vikings are there, and if JJ's there at 11 for the Vikings, I think they take him. But I think that the Broncos jump ahead of them to grab him.
Yeah, I think JJ has the most to gain from all these pro days and all this other stuff. But that pains me to say, but nonetheless. So Shaw still thinks he ends up in Pittsburgh, but I know we're Next up,
we're going with Drake May. You brought him up, North Carolina quarterback. He comes from a basketball family, but he was the oddball that said, I want to throw a football. So he's throwing footballs, and now he's about to be a first-round pick. Where do you think he's going to land?
This is where it gets weird. There's reports of the Giants being willing to move on from their quarterback. There's buyer's remorse there. You know why you can't have buyer's remorse? When you buy a nice big old house and it's a beautiful house and you got the inspection done, and then there's some things that just don't always come up in an inspection, and then you find that out later, and then that's buyer's remorse. But when you get the inspection back and everyone's telling you that the house sucks, you're not allowed to have buyer's remorse after everyone told you that that was a bad investment. I don't feel bad for the Giants one bit. Daniel Jones was the biggest waste of $40 million to begin with, but hey, I get this is why, and you're not wrong. It's always like the quarterback market. That's just what they go for. I hate that. You got to have a certain skill set. And I do think that the market matters. Like, okay, quarterbacks like him go for this. There ain't a whole lot of quarterbacks like him making that type of money, but the Giants can make up for it. I don't know if Drake May drops, like Drake May or McCarthy will be available at number 6 because the Chargers aren't taking that 5. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals, I mean, they seem to kind of gain interest in one another again last season. So I think that's good. The Titans have Levis. It sounds like they're willing to wrap their arms around him for another season before they decide to move on. The Falcons at 8. We'll get to, I think there's some names that we'll get to. If the Falcons might have a quarterback in their radar. The Bears are at 9. The Jets, maybe they draft for the future. I don't know. Maybe we go there. I don't know. Minnesota, I'm going to say outside the top 10. I think that the Jets or the Jets have to go O-line or wide receiver. They're trying to go all in. I think he drops out of the top 10. It's going to be weird seeing all these quarterbacks drop out of the top 10 unless there's a lot of trade movement out of the top 10 because of that very reason.
And the reason I did the guys coming out in the draft first, because it does start to become the dominoes that start to fall. It does become a situation where there's not a chair left for the veteran guys. So I say Drake May ends up with the Patriots. He's a bigger guy than JJ. I think he has a stronger arm than JJ. I think that situation for him in New England, staying kind of like on that Eastern Coast side of things, I think is a better fit for him. And I think that ultimately they're going to go early with the quarterback. And that's the one thing about it. You talk about guys, quarterbacks falling out the top 10. It's very rare that quarterbacks fall out the top 10. If a guy is there and like, oh man, he like drops 1 or 2 spots, somebody jumps up there and grabs him because like, well, wait, we can get this guy at number 6 as opposed to having to wait. We're not going to wait. We're going to go up there and grab him. I think ultimately Drake May goes at 3 to the Patriots.
It's Kenner and Kev show here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Let's do another one. We're going to break this up because we got a lot of names to still get to. And I appreciate the feedback on the social media side. We'll get to some of these responses in a moment, but let's do another one real quick.
Okay, we'll do the last 2 college guys together.
Okay.
Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr.
Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. Man, I don't know. I'm going to say –
I love when you say that.
I'm going to say – I have no Michael Penix Jr. to the Raiders is interesting. That's interesting at number 13. But I think they're going to, just because they're rolling with their rookie quarterback that, I I don't know. I don't know what to make of the
O'Donnell.
Raiders. I don't know what they plan on doing there because the Raiders can go quarterback. There's the Broncos at 12. You have the Saints at 14. Michael Penix Jr., I'm going to say if he's still there at number 16, I'm going to say that the Seattle Seahawks take him at number 16 because there's a lot of teams that loved him. And I guess during this process, there's some things that they need to tweak a little bit, I guess, but he has the accuracy and he has the super strong arm. They just need to fine tune some things. I think him being a backup to Geno for a year. And if Geno doesn't get the job done like last year, then maybe they make that midseason change. But I mean, he would have litany of weapons there. I kind of like him in Seattle. If I stole your thunder, my bad. But
I 100% agree. Purple Rain with Michael Penix Jr. I think this is the perfect fit for him. Him and Geno already have a rapport with each other. Geno's got his check. He's gotten paid, so I don't think Geno's going to be, too highly upset with them drafting, the heir apparent, so to speak. But, I mean, I think that's a perfect fit for him. I mean, we talk about DK Metcalf. Obviously, we talk about JSN because he's a Buckeye. But, Lockett is still there. Lockett's getting a little bit older. But this wide receiver core is so deep in this draft, they can go ahead and draft another guy to replace, Lockett in, like, the second or third round. But I think that Michael Penix Jr. is a lock for the Seattle Seahawks at 16. Then moving on to Bo Nix, where do you think Bo's going to land?
Out of the first round. I don't know why. I just don't think there's another situation that makes sense. I could see the Rams maybe trying to get a little cute and go that route with Matthew Stafford. They're winding down that run there, but I don't think you do that in the first round. I don't think you do that in the first round. So I think anything that drops out of the first round becomes unpredictable at that point.
Right.
So I'm not going to give you a destiny. I don't know. I think that a team like the Rams makes sense, just not in the first round. Going down this list too, maybe the Buccaneers, they're going to give Baker Mayfield that extension, but drafting Bo Nix, in the later round can make sense too. I don't know. I don't know what the draft prospect is or what, as far as how high he's being considered on boards, but I'll say Bo Nix out of the first round, at least as far as I go.
I agree with you. Not in the first round. I think he lands in the second round with the Dolphins. You think about everything that's going on with Tua, Tua being slight, Tua dealing with the head injuries. Didn't have one this past year. That's awesome. But you get him in that system with those weapons, you don't need to be super accurate when you have the fastest receiving core next to Usain Bolt. I mean, you got Waddle, you got Tariq Hill, you got Mostert, you got a ton of speed around you. You don't need to be super accurate. You throw go balls, and that's exactly what Bo Nix does very well, especially during his time at Oregon. I think Bo Nix, second round for the Dolphins.
Yeah, so Lamar Shelley comes in and says that Jake Browning is better than most of the quarterbacks in the draft. The Bengals should dangle him out there.
That's not a bad thought. That's not a bad thought. I mean, I was the main one on this show last year talking about Cooper Rush could potentially be a starter for, maybe the Colts or something like that. Dangle him out there. They did that. They got no bites. And Cooper Rush signed the contract back with, the Cowboys and made a nice little check. And then they went and got Trey Lance to boot.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think it's a situation, especially in the NFL, once they seen you and you're of a certain age and like you kind of like not get blackballed, but just like typecast is like, well, he's a backup. Yeah, he played good, but he's a backup. We want a franchise guy. We're not about to pay him to come to us and he can't even beat out the other guy. He's a backup.
So the thing that's interesting, last year, how many games did Jake Browning play in last year?
I want to say 5.
So down that stretch, with that being said, so he averaged, I think he played more than that. Burrow went out kind of around the midway point. So my thing is this. I don't think he is as good as I think he was a good backup quarterback and went in and did his job with the Cincinnati Bengals. But let's keep in mind, there's a lot of quarterbacks coming out of the draft that if you give them T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Tyler Boyd, they're going to do better.
9. He started 9
games. Okay. You give a lot of the starting quarterbacks coming out of this draft, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow, or T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Tyler Boyd, they're going to be way better than what Jake Browning was with the Bengals, in my opinion. So that's how I view it. What works against Jake Browning is that, yes, he did a good job for backup quarterback until you realize, man, he had more weapons than pretty much all the elite quarterbacks out there and still finished in last place and still couldn't get the Bengals into the playoffs. So that's why I'm not as high on Jake Browning as others are. But as a backup quarterback, no doubt about it. I think that the Bengals need to sit on him a little bit longer, and they had all the leverage, and I don't blame them one bit for doing what they did. I get what you mean, though. It's the leverage. It's the, could you get draft picks? But, you can get a lot of draft picks for T. Higgins, too. And they have options, and that's a good thing for the Cincinnati Bengals, no doubt.
My thing about Jake Browning is I think he's typecast as a backup because not only did he become a backup with the Minnesota Vikings. I believe he was a backup with the Rams, and now he's a backup with the Bengals. Finally got his time to shine, but I don't think that's going to parlay you into like, oh man, a 2nd round pick for Jake Browning. Like, nah, like if they trade him, it's going to be like a 7th rounder. And why would you get rid of a good backup quarterback? Like, especially when you have a quarterback that's been dealing with injuries since he set foot in the league. You want to hang on to Jake Browning if you're the Cincinnati Bengals, because he did service them very well during those 8-9 games that he started.
Yeah, that's Randy Scott Jr. What up, Randy? He goes, I like that idea about potentially looking to trade him, but as far as talking about Browning, but with Burrow's injury history, the Bengals need a viable backup. This is like my Browns take. Think about it here. T. Higgins, way better at his job than Browning is at his. But I think that Browning is more valuable to the Bengals than T. Higgins is. Browning's more valuable to the Cincinnati Bengals than T. Higgins is, because you have wide receiver talent. You have the best wide receiver in football. You have the talent that is Joe Burrow to elevate those guys around him. But if Joe Burrow goes down, it's easier to find a T. Higgins than it is a backup quarterback that can come in and keep the offense afloat the way that Browning did to a certain extent. Nonetheless,
I knew I liked Jake Browning. Him and I shared the same birthday.
I thought you were gonna say he went to the same high school.
No.
There always seems to be some tie into your high school. Yeah. All right, it's Kenner and Kev show here on 1410 ESPN Radio. We got more quarterbacks on this list. We'll be right back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
Well, the forecast is calling for showers and 46 tonight. Rain likely 53 tomorrow. Partly sunny Thursday and high 58. I'm Rick Schrepp for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Frickers tips off the season with a trio of fan favorites. Frickers Street Tacos are back for a limited time. While you enjoy the march to the national championship of college basketball on Frickers TVs, you'll savor the flavor of 3 Frickers Street Tacos. Frickin' Chicken Tacos, Grilled Chicken Tacos, and Mississippi Barbecue Tacos are back for a limited time. While your brackets get busted, smash a personal picture of domestic draft for only $6.99. Hurry before time runs out at the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
Can't sleep with this cold.
Honey.
Honey?
Honey, you need NyQuil Severe Honey. NyQuil Severe Honey gives you powerful cold and flu symptom relief with a dreamy honey taste. Feeling better, honey? Honey? I'll take that as a yes. Try NyQuil Severe Honey for powerful cold and flu symptom relief. NyQuil Severe with honey flavor. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, fever. Honeylicious, best sleep with a cold. Medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Hey, Joe Montana here. Back in my football days, I knew the importance of a strong defense. Now I'm sharing how you can help defend your health against pneumococcal pneumonia, a bacterial lung disease that can be life-threatening. If you're 65 or older or 19 or older with certain chronic conditions like diabetes or asthma, you're at increased risk. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist about vaccination and learn more at knowpneumonia.com. That's KNOW pneumonia.com.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Wendy's new breakfast 2 for $3 Biggie Bundles let you create your own delicious combo. Choose from a sausage biscuit, egg and cheese biscuit, small seasoned potatoes, and a medium hot coffee. But it's obvious which combo's the best. Sausage biscuit and small seasoned potatoes. Well, maybe it's the fresh cracked egg and cheese biscuit with a medium hot coffee. Or 2 savory sausage biscuits. Whichever you pick, you can't go wrong. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's new 2 for $3 Biggie Bundles.
Limited time only. U.S. price and participation may vary. Not valid in a combo. Single item at regular price.
Get started on your next outdoor project and save big money now at Menards. General purpose concrete mix is great for patios, walkways, and setting posts. All you have to do is add water, mix, and pour. Menards carries a wide selection of bagged concrete mix for a variety of outdoor projects. Save big on concrete mix and get into Menards to check out more of our great deals going on now.
Save big money at Menards.
Hungry for a great time? Maybe some great food? Then come on down to your neighborhood Submarine House. Try our oven-toasted deli subs, our mouth-watering salads, pizzas, appetizers, and more. And wash them down with a unique selection of craft beers while watching the big game on our big screens. With locations around Dayton, in Columbus, and our newest sports bar in Kettering, you're never far from a Submarine House. Subs, sports, spirits. Submarine House.
Your gas light's on. We need to fill up.
Gas around here is too expensive.
Don't drive all over searching for the lowest prices. Just download the free Upside app and get cash back for every gallon of gas you buy. I've already made around $200.
You can make that kind of cash back just for buying gas? I'm stopping now to download Upside and fill up my tank. Download the free Upside app to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or e-gift card. Download the free Upside app now and use promo code GIFT for an extra 25 cents per gallon cash back on your first fill up. That's promo code GIFT.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Don't get stuck gearing up for spring while everyone else is enjoying the warm weather. Invisible Fence brand works in any season, giving your pet the freedom they deserve. Now, visit invisiblefence.com to learn more.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash back with you here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. We were off yesterday due to Red Spring Training Baseball. We'll be off tomorrow because of Red Spring Training Baseball. And to be clear, people, when I say we're off, we're not off work. We're just off the show.
Speak for yourself.
So many people say, must be nice. It must be nice if we were actually off.
Right.
But especially when it rains. Can't even golf. Can, though.
You can. I have a workout that I have to complete this evening outside. So, yeah, this is going to be fun.
So tell people about this little challenge you're doing before we get back to this quarterback list.
Okay, I'll be as brief as humanly possible. The morning show. Michelle Smallman, she's on the morning show, and she was talking about this workout challenge that she's going to be taking part of. It's called the 75 Hard Challenge. And so I'm listening to her talk about it. I was like, that doesn't seem that hard. So then I, do what everybody does. Google it, YouTube it, figure it out. So during this challenge, what you have to do is you have to work out 2 times a day for 45 minutes. But one of the workouts has to be outside. Now, looking outside, it's raining, thunderstorming. That's going to be pretty difficult, but, you have to get it done. The second thing is you have to follow a diet. So if you want to go paleo, you want to go vegan, you want to do intermittent fasting, do that. But no cheat meals, and no alcohol, which is going to be tough. Thanks for the Snickers.
You're a little delusional when you're hungry. Have a Snickers.
Yeah. So the third rule is drink a gallon of water a day. So I bought this trusty guy right here, this little Yeti. This is 46 ounces. So I have to drink 3 of these a day. I'm in the middle of number 3 of these today. I'm gonna have to take a break, go to the bathroom.
Show them your Shrek juice.
Oh, yeah. This is normal, though. This is normal. You know what I'm saying? This is my green juice that I drink anyway.
He says normal, he says.
Shouts out to the chicken from Kroger.
Oh, we'll get to that in a moment.
Then the fourth thing is to read 10 pages of a book. No audiobooks. So I just started a book yesterday. I'm 20 pages in. Takes me about 25 minutes to knock that out. And then number 5, take a progress picture every single day. And the final thing is, if you fail to do any of these things, you have to start over from day 1. And this thing is not a fitness challenge. It is a mental challenge, because everybody has things that go on in their life. I mean, shoot, we got basketball games that we want to go to on Thursday with the Wright State Raiders playing at 8 o'clock. So I have to navigate how am I going to get an outside workout in and get to go watch the Raiders play on Thursday. There's weekends that come up that people go bowling, go hanging out. There's a lot of other things that go on. Like I'm going to be going to the Ohio State spring game in April. It's going to be difficult not to have a beer at the Buckeyes game. I'm going home to Cleveland for Mother's Day. It's going to be difficult doing intermittent fasting with my mom cooking and my grandmother wanting to do this and my grandmother wanted to do that. It's going to be very difficult for me to get an additional outside workout in as I'm hanging out with my mom, my grandmother, and my aunt. So it is a mental toughness challenge. How tough am I? I'm in the middle of day 2. So far, so good. Really? Thanks. Hope you choke.
So,
and mine. Not
I'm
only
chopping on a Snickers.
Not
sorry.
only am I doing intermittent fasting, so people that don't know what intermittent fasting is, my last meal I eat at 9 o'clock, before 9 o'clock at night, and then I don't eat my first meal until 1 p.m. the next day. But also in that, I threw in I'm not allowed to eat any potato chips, like no chips, no Doritos, because you put a bag of Doritos, I'll eat the whole bag. So no Doritos, no chips. So that's added into it. So I made my challenge just a little bit harder.
I'm glad you kept talking. That Snickers, like,
did it satisfy you?
Spoonful of peanut butter almost is what it. Yeah. So like Kev, your lunch today was like not even close to being the same as what. So I went to Kroger today. This is not a paid spot for them. You know, there's a lot of great chicken joints in the area. So obviously, but that Kroger's chicken. I mean, I came back with a little thing of chicken, and Kev was just making fun of me the whole time because he's eating his healthy oats and stuff. And I got, you know, I went to go to the bathroom a little bit ago, and I look up as I'm washing my hands, and I see there was chicken on the bottom of my glasses. I mean, yeah, I was so aggressive eating this chicken that it was in my beard, and there was a piece of chicken on the bottom of my glasses. That's how much I enjoyed that chicken. But yeah, I'm eating this chicken. I have my Snickers bar. I'm drinking my Pepsi, and there's Kev eating his cup of oats.
Yeah, overnight oats and walnuts and a banana and a whole bunch of water.
To be fair, the Snickers has nuts in it.
And nougat and chocolate.
But the nuts, though, it's baby steps. Now, I don't ever feel as bad. I mean, look, I lost 40 pounds one time a couple years ago. I gained most of it back. But that's besides the point.
But
but I could do it.
That you could do it.
Yeah, and it was fun. But, is what it is. It's a Kenner and Kev show here on 1410 ESPN Radio. To be clear, I usually don't eat that bad all the time. You know, I work out a couple days a week.
There you go.
Shout out Brad Mays, Barefoot Gym, by the way. He does these boot camp classes. It's the only way. Because, like, if I do the whole, I'm going to get up in the morning and go work out. Oh, no, it's raining. Oh, no, I didn't get as much sleep last night. Oh, the dogs, I had to get up in the 2 in the morning to go let them out. Oh, the neighbors, they were, playing music too loud next door. Always an excuse. I'll just convince myself. But I tell my buddy Brad, hey, I'm going. I got to go. It's that peer pressure thing into going. So, but yeah, I got, my arms are pretty built, but it's, if you go to the beach and take your shirt off, you got built arms, but you got man boobs the size of C cups and a big old gut. There's just, it's not the vibe you're going for. It's not the look you're going for.
Couple push-ups. Get rid of it.
It is what it is. Shaw says he's at the gym listening right now.
What up, Shawski?
Everyone trying to do better. Everyone trying to do better. Trying is the key.
We got 3 months until summer, people. We got 3 months.
Back to the quarterback list. Back to sports. Stick to sports. What we got, Kev?
All right, we talked
Donald
about
Trump.
We talked about the guys that are coming into the league. Let's talk about the guys that are already in the league, the veterans, the free agents, the guys that got cut, the guys that are on the trading block. Let's start out with the guy that saved your season last year, Joe Flacco. Where are you going to play?
Let me look at this one more time because there's not a spot that makes sense for him to go start.
Right.
Like I'm looking around the league. There's nothing out there. Now, maybe there's a wild card team that could potentially kick the tires on this. And that is the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings. Keep in mind, you don't give $30 million a year to Justin Jefferson to start over with a rookie quarterback and hope that you kind of need someone to come in. I think they could draft a quarterback. Maybe Bo Nix makes sense for them in the second round if he's there. I could see Joe Flacco he's played well in purple before. I could see Joe Flacco with Justin Jefferson and Addison there. I feel like the Vikings, if they get that Joe Flacco that played for them, I'm going to say the Vikings are a wild card. I also think the Giants are a wild card depending on what they do with Daniel Jones. But I think if they move on from Daniel Jones and they have that top draft pick, they're going to go quarterback there up at the top. So I don't think Joe Flacco to New York makes a lot of sense. I like Joe Flacco to Minnesota as a potential spot because I don't think Kirk Cousins is going back. They can't afford him and Justin Jefferson. And again, I'm looking around. The Saints, they have Carr. I just don't think there's another spot.
Right.
that makes sense for him to go to, because I think the rest of the AFC is pretty well accounted for at this point.
I think Joe Flacco signs back with the Cleveland Browns. I think he looks at the situation there with the Cleveland Browns and look at the success he had there. And let's be real, man. We don't know what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson. And we're not talking like the usual stuff, like with injuries and stuff like that. But we can say it's always something. Just like with, Joe Burrow, it's always something. We know that something's going to pop up from, hey, man, the knee exploding, the appendectomy, the elbow, the wrist, or whatever happened last year. Like, it just seems like it's always something that knocks him out for an extended period of time. So if I'm Joe Flacco, I'm looking at all the success I had with the Cleveland Browns. If there's not a good landing spot for me to be a guaranteed starter, then I would go back to the Cleveland Browns and collect a nice little paycheck.
And that's true, too. I think the Vikings are the team. That's the only team that makes sense for him to go be a starter. Outside of that, a reunion with Cleveland, to me, makes all the sense in the world as far as that goes. And I will say this. The team that makes the most sense of all the teams out there, but just knowing how the team operates, it's your team. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers. To me, Flacco, assuming that's that again, that's what all this is based on. If the Vikings signed Joe Flacco, it's because of how he looked in Cleveland.
Stefanski's not calling the plays with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
If Cleveland brings him back, if Cleveland brings him back, they're bringing him back because of how he looked last year.
Right.
To me, with the weapons that Pittsburgh has, Joe Flacco with the weapons that he has with that defense, it's the same thing that he had in Cleveland to me. And I think that Pittsburgh could thrive with him there. But I know that there's a 0% chance of that happening. I just like Pittsburgh for him, but I know there's nothing there. So I won't even throw them out there. But Vikings as a starter, Browns as a backup, those are the destinations, I believe, for Joe Flacco.
All right, let's stick with a veteran. Kirk Cousins. Where do you think Kirk Cousins is going to play next year? Coming off the knee injury?
It sounds like it's Atlanta. Everyone kept talking about this is how I know Justin Fields is being overhyped. As we talked about earlier, no disrespect to him. Go Bulldogs. That's how this works, right? No. The reason I know he's overhyped is because there's multiple reports out there that have said that the Falcons have prioritized, for one, Kirk Cousins number one, Baker Mayfield number two. Then Justin Fields seems to me like we can't get our top two targets, then we'll go get Justin Fields, who I think could do really good in Atlanta. But I think there's a ceiling there. And I think that they know that there's a ceiling, which is why they're looking at the other two. And I'm here to tell you, I don't think Baker's that much better. I think he's better than Fields from what you want out of your offense, just because we've seen it. But Baker makes me feel better at quarterback than Fields, but I still feel like maybe there's a part of Fields we haven't seen yet. But yeah, I think Kirk Cousins ends up in Atlanta. Apparently he's looking at homes in Atlanta right now. That's one reason why I'm leaning that way.
Kirk Cousins is going to the highest bidder.
No, he's always done well in that regard, to be honest.
Shouts out to him. No, I agree with you 100% that I think he's going to end up with the Atlanta Falcons. The thing that they've been missing is a veteran quarterback that can actually play the position. They got all the weapons in the world, from Bijan Robinson to Drake London. Kyle Pitts. They got the guys. They got the playmakers on the outside and a good running game. I think he fits perfectly. But I'll give you a sleeper. I will say the Raiders are a sleeper to make a bid for one Kirk Cousins.
Ooh, Devontae Adams. I like that.
Devontae Adams.
Josh
Jacobs. You look at Coach Pierce. You know what I'm saying? He officially has the job. Well, you don't want this to be a fluke. You don't want this little blip on the radar that you had the back half of the season to crumble your first year as the full-time head coach. You want to go get a veteran guy that you know you can win games with. So I would put the Raiders as a spot to watch for Kirk Cousins.
All right, next up.
All right, we've been talking about him. Everybody's been talking about him. We love him. You love him. One, Justin Fields.
I don't know. You thought Atlanta. I think Atlanta, we've been through the scenarios. If they can't get Kirk and and Baker sounds like he's going to be back with the Bucs.
Yeah.
So there's that.
They just re-signed Mike Evans as well.
They had, and everyone out there are like, oh man, how come they haven't got a deal to win Baker? They were prioritizing Evans. Evans was always going to get the first priority as far as that's concerned. So there's that. Pittsburgh makes sense. Cleveland got thrown out the other day for them to go after a bet. If they can't get Joe Flacco to come back to be the backup, could Fields end up being a backup in Cleveland versus a starter somewhere else? That kind of makes sense. Not against that, but I'm not going to do a cartwheel if the Browns signed Justin Fields. It'd be cool to watch Buckeye go there. Okay, cool. I'd rather have Flacco than Fields, which is wild. I can't believe Can you imagine saying that in March of 2023? But that's where we're at right now. So it is what it is. So I don't know. I'm looking around the league and I'm like, I don't know, man. Like
running out of spots, man.
The seats. I think he's trending towards a backup spot at this point, which is wild.
Absolutely.
Atlanta's his most realistic starting spot. But then again, like I said Minnesota earlier for Flacco. And sorry if I'm jumping in front of you,
good.
But Minnesota could be a sleeper as well. And then look out for Washington too in the NFC.
I don't see Washington because they're going to draft one of the rookies. So there's no need to bring him because they're getting rid of him because they want to bring in another rookie. I think you hit the nail on the head with the Vikings. I think that's the only spot outside of Atlanta. There's a million rumors about the Pittsburgh Steelers, this, that, and the third. But from all the places that I read, my Steelers news that aren't fanboy homer sites, they're not doing it. They're going to roll in there with Kenny Pickett. Their plan is to re-sign Mason Rudolph and draft a quarterback in the third round. That sounds exactly like what the Pittsburgh Steelers do. So that's out. Then there's questions about the Raiders. Well, the offensive coordinator that used to be with Chicago Bears is now with the Raiders. That didn't work out well for either person involved, from the coordinator or from Justin Fields. That's out of the question. So it leaves the Atlanta Falcons. But now the Kirk Cousins stuff is starting to pick up a lot of steam.
It's Kirk Cousins to Washington. Jeff McFerrin just messaged him
going home
that he heard a reunion with Washington. He heard that on the radio earlier today.
Man, it is rumor season. So I'm going to say
that wouldn't be terrible. But no, it goes back to your point.
Yeah, they're hitting the reset button.
You're not drafting where are they, 4?
2.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. You're not drafting the quarterback at 2 to start Kirk Cousins. I lied. Kirk Cousins makes 0 sense. Makes 0 sense because today's rookie quarterbacks can come in and be stars. Hence what we just saw with Justin Fields or CJ Stroud. I'm sorry. Yeah. And Fields had more weapons around him. You would see. You watch what Joe Burrow did. You've seen what these rookies do when they come in and they have some stability around them. I think Washington actually has McLaurin. They have some weapons. So I think whoever they drafted number 2 could end up being whether it's Daniels or whoever. Imagine Daniels with McLaurin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look out. I think Washington. Yeah, that doesn't make sense either. But thank you, Jeff. Yeah, I've heard that too, just because of reuniting them. But yeah, who knows?
Yeah, I just think that what the Bears were wanting for Justin Fields was a second-round pick. I think everybody at the combine that met with them laughed in their faces. Look, I don't know a lot about everything, but I do know this. Anybody that's going to give up more than a third-round pick for Justin Fields needs their head examined. Like a first and a second-round pick, those are dudes that you want starting. I want them starting right away. Like, hey, man, hit the ground running. You're a starter. Third, fourth-round pick, hey, man, you're in the rotation. You can give up a third-round pick. You can give up a fourth-round pick for Justin Fields. Man, you can give up a third and a seventh for Justin Fields. But you're not giving up a first or a second-round pick for Justin Fields at this juncture of his career. Ultimately, I think if I had to pick a team, I would go number 1, the Falcons, and then the Vikings number 2. But the price is going to continue to drop for him because they're starting to get desperate. I mean, like we talked about earlier, the draft is like in a month. You got to get him out of here. You got to get him out of here before Caleb Williams is up there holding the number 1 jersey because that's Justin Fields' number. So you got to get him up out of here.
All right. Who else we got on that list?
We got the last one. He got a Super Bowl. He's a champion. Russell Wilson.
The Giants, look, with that deal, with them outright releasing him, it opens up the door for a few different situations. You don't like it. Your Steelers still make a ton of sense. It still makes a ton of sense. And I think that a lot of teams now are willing to take a look at it a little bit more because of the fact that they may be able to get him super cheap. Again, the Broncos owe him $34 million for next season. So, and the reason I say this, so a lot of people could say, well, he could still go sign somewhere for 40 or 45 and get the Broncos money in that. You're right, he could. But I think he's also smart enough to know at this point in his career, he needs as much help as he can get.
Right.
So, and what I mean by that, so that 34, it's not like he loses that 34.
Right.
It just offsets. If he goes signs a $45 million contract with Pittsburgh, let's just throw in the team, the 34 that is owed to him by Denver basically offsets. Denver has to pay that.
Right.
Pittsburgh still gets him super cheap regardless. But again, he could even look at it as a situation where, hey, the cheaper I go for the 34, my team don't have to pay me a damn dime and could put every damn dollar possible out there for one season to go in for a run. The Giants, the Giants could make sense because that's how they could afford to move off from Daniel Jones. If they can move off from Daniel Jones, it offsets by not having to pay a pretty penny for Russell Wilson. The Giants make sense, but I also think Pittsburgh makes sense as well from that perspective.
I think he's going to be doing exactly what we're doing. I don't think he's going to be in the league. I think people are off of him, man. I mean, when is the last time we seen a guy flame out with the team that he won a Super Bowl with and flame out with another team and end up with somebody else? Like, all right, you guys to the playoffs. Let's do this. We talk about history repeating itself. This history hasn't happened ever. I don't think that people want him on their team right now. We talked about it in hour one, juice being worth a squeeze. I'm not sure he has the juice left in him to even be remotely near the squeeze. What you say is absolutely 1,000,000% the truth and factual. If he's willing to show up for $50,000 and be the starting quarterback for the Giants, Steelers, whomever, Carolina Panthers, and they use that money elsewhere to build around him, then okay, you can sell me on that. But if he's talking about anything over the league minimum, get out.
Yep. I mean, that's a little self-awareness. It's going to go a long way. For the and by the way, he needs to look at this as a damage control situation too. Maybe the dude can ride. Right? And that's the thing about it. Like, okay. Sorry, guys, I hit the echo. The echo's bad. My bad. It's gone. Keep going.
So me being a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and I like Russ. I think he was a good quarterback in his day. But like that Broncos country, let's ride, and then let Russ cook, and things just fell apart for him with the Broncos. I don't need any of those cliche sayings if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Steelers quarterback. I don't need any of that. I need quiet. I need you to go to work. Yeah, I don't need any of that, man. That is a major turnoff for me. Like, people can talk about Deshaun Watson and all the off the field stuff, but for the most part, he was quiet. Did the interviews here, did the interviews there, but it wasn't all this other stuff going on. Now he's starting to do a little podcast and stuff like that. But that's now, not then. Hey man, look, relax a little bit. Let's take a step back. Like you said, be self-aware about the situation that you're going to and what you've been through in your past, and realize, like, all right, man, I got to get this thing back on track if I want to, win some games, win the starting job, win a playoff game, win a Super Bowl. And that's not just for me, that's for any fan base out there.
Yeah, and man, that's why it's still amazing to me. People still say Cleveland, the worst deal in the history of sports, but not a peep about this Russell Wilson.
Oh, this is hands down the worst.
They literally are eating more money.
Goodness, gracious.
People can rip Cleveland, and justifiably so. Like, Cleveland knew the noise that they were going to create when they signed him, right? But there's a clause in the contract that if more develops from the off-the-field stuff that he was a part of to begin with, that they could wipe out that fully guaranteed contract and move off of it.
Right.
Something that the Denver Broncos could not do. And I'm here to tell you, Deshaun and Russ, it's not fair to put them in the same light.
You are right.
It's not fair.
You're right.
But from a football perspective, noise is noise. Distraction is distraction. There are levels to illegalities and stuff off the field. I get that. But Russ's distraction was just as much of a distraction as Deshaun's was, even though Deshaun's was gross. Right? But still a distraction nonetheless, and still had more players in the league and teammates coming to the bat of Deshaun more so than Russ. And it's not like Barry and Russ, but there was some, the diva type stuff that was kind of coming out that didn't do him any favors and not being able to produce as well. So bottom line is, could Cleveland's deal with Deshaun still blow up in their face? Absolutely. And I believe that this is the do or die year coming up. Like, you know what I mean? If it's the same year as last year where you see signs of greatness, but again, missing time, you failed because he still can't show up on the field. It's still a failure of a direction that they tried to go in. But that's why it's important for Deshaun to play. Either play well, all right, you got to play well, but just play it all. You got to play it all. Like, that's really what it
Give us
comes
something
down
to look at. All right.
Yeah. The whole Russ thing's fascinating. This whole thing, this is a wild offseason because of the names involved in the free agent market, the names involved in the draft. I mean, there's just so much moving pieces as far as that's concerned. So, all right, good stuff. It's the Kinner and Kev show here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Let's close out hour 2 when we come back. The Dayton Flyers. I mean, how the hell are they a top 25 team? Like, they're the third. They're not even going to win the A10. And then number 2, they moved back to number 25. But
hanging on.
I will say this. how strong is the reputation of the Dayton Flyers that you could lose the games that you have and still hold on to a top 25 spot? We could talk parity. We could talk a lot of things. But there's a lot of teams that are at Dayton's level that do not have the respect that Dayton has, because Dayton, there's a reputation to them somehow, some way, that they're given the benefit of the doubt. I still think the top 25 is irrelevant. I don't think that stuff matters. It matters for branding purposes and out on the recruiting trail. Overall, it all comes down to what you do when you get to the A10 tournament, what you do when you get to the NCAA tournament. But you can call me a hater all you want, but my goodness. I mean, we could talk about Ohio State's struggles when they can't beat Big Ten teams, but when you can't beat the good A10 teams, that's a problem to me. They remain in the top 25. Dayton Flyers fans, are you concerned? You could talk about the 22 and the 23, however many total wins they have. You could talk about all that. But I think it's a little, because you could talk about getting to the NCAA tournament where you play the good teams, but every time they play a good team, they lose. It's not a shot. I'm not hating. I think it's a legitimate thing to be concerned about. And I'm curious your guys' thoughts. Wright State Conference tournament tips off technically tonight in first round action. Wright State got a first round bye because they got a top 4 seed. They held off Northern Kentucky at the Netter Center the other night, and they clinched the 4 seed. They host NKU in a rematch coming up on Thursday. We'll talk about that in just a moment as well. And Ohio State, they've won 4 of 5 since moving on from Chris Holtman. Is it enough to play their way onto the bubble? Kev's face says it all. We'll be right back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Frickers tips off the season with a trio of fan favorites. Frickers Street Tacos are back for a limited time. While you enjoy the march to the national championship of college basketball on Frickers TVs, you'll savor the flavor of 3 Frickers Street Tacos. Frickin' Chicken Tacos, Grilled Chicken Tacos, and Mississippi Barbecue Tacos are back for a limited time. While your brackets get busted, smash a personal picture of domestic draft for only $6.99. Hurry before time runs out at the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
Hi, I'm Kamiko, the founder of Miko's Hot Chicken. When we started our family restaurant, we were also raising a family. But let me tell you, it wasn't easy. Our Chase Inc. card was there to reward us on all of our business needs. Now we have a thriving location, and we're hungry for more.
With the Chase Inc. Business Unlimited card, you can earn unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase, so your business can go from here to possible. Chase for Business. Make more with yours. Real business owners compensated for their participation. Cards issued by J.P. Morgan Chase Bank and a member FDIC. Subject to credit approval. Terms apply.
Some people just know the best rate for you is a rate based on you with Allstate, not one based on Carol. She's more focused on hitting a high note than the car in front of her. Why pay a rate based on anyone else? Get one based on you with DriveWise from Allstate.
Not available in Alaska or California, subject to terms and conditions. Rates are determined by several factors, which vary by state. In some states, participation in DriveWise allows Allstate to use your driving data for purposes of rating. While in some states, your rate could increase with high-risk driving. Generally, safer drivers will save with DriveWise. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
It's Kubota Orange Days, your golden opportunity to score a deal that'll make your neighbors green with envy. Shop the year's best selection of Kubota tractors, zero-turn mowers, and utility vehicles, including the #1 selling compact tractor in the USA. And get the year's best deals, like 0% APR for 84 months and up to $2,500 off BX23S tractors.
Stop by Columbus Equipment in Columbus, Dayton, or Toledo to see our full line of Kubota construction equipment, or check us out online at columbusequipment.com.
Hey, let me tell you about the advantages of driving with my friends at Cordell Transportation. First of all, for the new year, they're offering brand new equipment to drive. They purchased new equipment, and not a lot of people could say that, but they've got it, and they're ready to roll with you. Cordell Transportation is offering an incredible $5,000 sign-on bonus paid over 18 months. If you're an experienced Class A CDL driver looking for excellent benefits, home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freights, then apply today online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Veterans, were you exposed to harmful burn pit smoke while serving overseas? The Department of Veterans Affairs has recognized and is providing benefits to veterans who suffer with asthma, rhinitis, and sinusitis as a result of burn pit exposure. If you served in the Southwest Asia Theater of Operations or Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, Syria, or Djibouti, and suffer from any respiratory illnesses that you believe is a result of exposure to burn pits, contact the Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission at 937-225-4801.
Have you heard? Bath Creations has moved to their new location and showroom at 8741 North Kimmel Road in Clayton. This gives you even more opportunity to see the incredible amenities and craftsmanship Bath Creation offers. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful, modern bathroom that is safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save an additional $500 off your purchase. Visit at 8741 North Kimmel Road in Clayton or online at mybathcreations.com and get a new bath today.
KFC's new Smashed Potato Bowl is smashed with fries, mashed potatoes, cheese, and bacon. And it's only $3.49. It's finger-licking good.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Would it be convenient for you if you could simply take what you wanted and leave the rest behind? Great, I'll buy it. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family, apartment buildings, rental portfolios. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. Call TurboTrack Realty today for an all-cash offer and speak with one of our friendly staff members at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
Frickers tips off the season with a trio of fan favorites. Frickers Street Tacos are back for a limited time. While you enjoy the march to the national championship of college basketball on Frickers TVs, you'll savor the flavor of 3 Frickers Street Tacos. Frickin' Chicken Tacos, Grilled Chicken Tacos, and Mississippi Barbecue Tacos are back for a limited time. While your brackets get busted, smash a personal picture of domestic draft for only $6.99. Hurry before time runs out at the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
The road starts here on Selection Sunday, March 17th. The Big Hoopla events return to salute Dayton's rich basketball history. We tip off the family fun with the Big Hoopla 4-miler, 9 a.m. at the University of Dayton softball fields. All participants receive a Soft Tech tee, custom finisher medal, free race photos, and tons of post-race food. Register today at DaytonHoopla.com. The Big Hoopla 4-miler, Sunday, March 17th.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
Some people just know the best rate for you is a rate based on you with Allstate, not one based on anyone else. Visit allstate.com or call for a quote today.
Coming to you live from the Superbook Sports Studios in Kettering. You're listening to Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
And we are back. It's the Kinner and Kev Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. Keith Byers, just heard his booming voice out in the hallway. He's gonna hop in with us coming up here in about 10 minutes. Curious his thoughts. T. Higgins. We talked to Jay Morrison a while back when they slapped the franchise tag on T. Higgins. We haven't heard any reports of him being unhappy, but Jay Morrison, when he came on with us, covers the Cincinnati Bengals, of course, said that T will not be happy about it when it happens. So it's happened. And the big question is, it's a simple thing. Well, why does it matter? They get all this money fully. He's going to get $21 million. Well, Keith Byers was an active player in the NFL the first year that the franchise tag became a thing.
Okay.
So I'm curious his thoughts to bring a player's perspective of, why, when it was first initially described to them what the franchise tag was, what was their initial reaction? Because now players hate it. In fact, this is usually what leads to a lot of holdouts and, or at least leading to holdouts, meaning when they tagged Lamar, he played, but he didn't give it his all, right? Like I'm injured. I don't know how fast I'm going to come back off this injury for you on the tag.
Right.
It's a lot of money. It's fully guaranteed, all that stuff. But again, something about long-term. We saw Jesse Bates, by the way. Jesse Bates, when he was tagged, he was not happy about it, and he didn't have a great year for the Bengals. He was solid, right? He didn't have a great year for the Bengals.
Returned to form for the Falcons.
Then he returned to form when he got paid. So that's why you got to, the people talk about potentially trading T. Higgins might be onto something there, because are you going to get the full effort of T, who's going to be mentally down on his team, not his teammates, but his team? We all know when we feel disrespected by our place of employment, it's almost as if these guys work in radio half the time. We know, okay? Like it's hard to give your best effort when you feel disrespected by your place of employment,
right.
But if these players had a crystal ball to know when they were going to get taken, so bottom line is we'll talk with KB about what the players' mindset is with this. And, well, again, I don't care if there's the national or the players, you vote upon it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's wild to me is like how much these players hate it, but it's always included, probably because there's no budging there. Like the NFL owns the players. That's
right.
what's wild. The NBA players own the league. Baseball players own their league. The NFL has done as good a job as any league out there of holding on to more of the covers, if you will, as far as that's concerned. So we'll talk about that with him. But nonetheless, college hoops. So this past Saturday, Wright State held off Northern Kentucky in their regular season finale. The season's done, Kev. How the heck is the season done? How the heck is the season done? That's what's wild to me. But they held off Northern Kentucky, so they beat NKU at NKU a few weeks ago, back in early February. But they finished the season 18-13 overall. They're 13-7 in league play. They finished with the 4 seed. And now the reason that was significant is because the NIT basically stuck it to the mid-major conferences. If you would win the conference in the regular season, you would automatically get the NIT bid if things didn't go well in the conference tournament. Not that you strive for the NIT, you strive to get to the NCAAs, but there was that soft landing spot, if you will. Now, it doesn't matter, Wright State didn't win the league to begin with, but with that being said, the importance of just finishing in the top 4, like winning your conference title matters, yes, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it's about positioning yourself to get the best seed possible for the conference tournament. The top 4 seeds in the horizon get a first-round bye, and you get to host a quarterfinal game. So first-round games are tonight. And Wright State doesn't play tonight. It's a bye. They get a bye, and they will play NKU, the 5 seed, in a rematch on Thursday. So
again,
they won 94-88. It was their 13th 90-point game of the season, by the way. I mean, they've had like 6 100-point games. They had 13 90-plus point games, averaging 88 a game in league play. I mean, they scored a ton of points, and they put a ton of points up the other night. They won 85-78 over NKU back in early February, and now they got to play NKU at the Nutter again this Thursday night at 8 o'clock. I don't know, man. Like, that stinks. They had a chance. Had they lost to NKU this past Thursday, they would have had to go to Green Bay to play. Green Bay beat Wright State twice, but they're without a couple of their players. They're without their star player, Noah Reynolds, who dropped 30-plus on Wright State twice. And it was on the verge of being the player of the year until he missed the last, 4 or 5 games of the season. So, I don't know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about Green Bay. The bottom line is they beat NKU Thursday night. They're going to the Final Four in Indiana Farmers Coliseum in Indianapolis next Monday night in the semifinals. So they have a good chance to get back to the NCAA tournament. They have a good chance to win this. They're playing their best basketball of the season, but they got to get past NKU and beat them for the 3rd time this season.
Very tough for Wright State to be able to pull this off. Obviously, you would rather have that game on your home court and everything like that, but that made them have to play their biggest rival for a 3rd time this season. I saw a lot of the postseason awards started coming out, some first teamers out there for Trey Calvin, 3rd team for Tanner Holden, academic All-Americans out there as well for the basketball team. Awesome stuff, but it's all about right now. Happy for those guys. Happy they had a great senior day, but it's all about tomorrow at 8 o'clock. It's officially win by any means necessary season, especially when you're playing in a conference like the Horizon where it's a one big league. You have to win out for your chances to go dancing.
Yeah, it's obviously going to be super key. And by the way, Trey Calvin gets Horizon League first team. He was the Horizon League preseason player of the year. He ended up averaging 19.6 points per game on the season, had 44 steals on the season, played defense as well. Averaged just a little bit under 3 rebounds a game, but again, passed the ball real well as far as assists go, 128 assists on the season. Now, Brandon Knoll got second team, which is why, Brandon Knoll is a beast, man, like 14.7 points per game, averaging a near double-double on the season. So, again, fantastic player. And then Tanner was interesting getting that third team. People, bringing up, Tanner comes back and gets third team. Tanner, no disrespect to anyone else on that roster, the only reason they have a shot to win this dang thing is because of Tanner, and that's no disrespect to anyone else. The amount of attention that he brings defensively, Trey gets it, and whenever that defense sucks in on Trey, then Tanner takes over games, and that's what the adjustment that they've made over the last month. He's been basically playing point. We talked to him on the show last week. He said, well, hey, it's not been that hard of an adjustment. He played point in high school. Right. So he's used to running the offense. But since they've made that slight adjustment where you basically have to pick your poison, he's been basically unstoppable too. And he had a damn near triple-double the other night in their win against NKU. I think he was 1 rebound shy and 2 assists shy of a triple-double in his final, second to last, in senior night, I should say. But yeah, it all comes down to Trey and Tanner and what they do, and they got to get more out of their bench. But we'll see what happens.
Put a percentage on it of them winning the Horizon League championship.
I give them 85%.
Wow.
85%.
You are confident.
Because the way they're playing defense right now. Now, I know you look at how much points they gave up against them last time. There's points, and I get that, but NKU had to earn those. They weren't giving up easy layup after. Teams were. It was Olay defense for the first 2.5, 3 months of that season. Over the last month, they've really clamped down. Up until this past week, they had held opponents under 80 for 5 straight games. That's the first time they've done that all season. And it really just comes down to defense. They're the 5th best offense in the country. They're putting up near 90 points a game. Like, they're going to score points. It just comes down to, can you take that giving up 80 points a game down to that 74, 73 range, shave 7 points per game off? That's what they've done during this stretch, and that's why they've been playing their best basketball. But, in Youngstown, they've regressed a bit. They're not as strong as what they were to start. They've beat the Raiders twice. They were hot early. Oakland won the league, but Wright State just blitzed them by 20 on their home on the road, right? Like they and Oakland could get going against them. And then Green Bay, they've been kind of just sliding off because they're without their top players right now. So it's not about where you fit. It's not how you start; it's how you finish. Obviously, they're in 4th place, but they're the hottest team in the Horizon right now heading into the tournament.
Biggest threat.
I think that team right now at Fort Wayne, and just because you saw how they played defensively, still going to be Youngstown. Just because they're deeper. But Oakland, I'm not saying don't worry about Oakland. They won the league.
Right.
Oakland's not as strong offensively as some of those other teams. Youngstown could play defense and put points up.
So we were talking to Coach Trice last week, and I told him, my father-in-law played football at Youngstown State. So I am hoping for that matchup. I need that matchup. I want that matchup.
So Shaw, you said WK. Oh, and I'm assuming you mean Northern Kentucky. So he says Oakland or Northern Kentucky. Like, Northern Kentucky won the league last year. What matchup did you want? Wright State and
Youngstown State.
See, they reseed, so it's hard to.
Okay.
After Thursday night, they'll reseed.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken. So it's like putting a puzzle together for me as far as that goes. So if Wright State beats NKU on Saturday, they'll play in the semifinals Monday night at either 7 or 9:30.
Right.
And then the championship game is on Tuesday night, a week from tonight at 7:00. But if chalk goes as planned, Wright State could be playing Oakland on Monday night in the 1-4 matchup, assuming there's no upsets. But Cleveland State's good enough to win this dang thing too. And I think that they finished. God, where did they finish? Here they are right there. Cleveland State's a 7
seed.
Yeah. They could easily win this too. Cleveland State's really good. Fort Wayne's 8. Fort Wayne's 8. They could win this thing. Like, that's what's wild when it's all said and done, is that all those teams. So we'll see what ends up happening as far as that goes. Okay. We'll have tickets. 518-1410. We have basketball tickets for the quarterfinal game on Thursday night. It's the final game of the season, win or lose, at the Nutter Center. They had a great crowd on hand the other night, and I think they fed off that. It was very obvious, and they need that. Like, I'm curious to see if they can repeat that same type of crowd performance on Thursday. I know it was the senior night that helped, but this is the true senior night. This is the last game, no matter what. Like, we didn't know if it was the final home game or not for them the other night. It was just the send-off. This is it. And, Kev, we joked about this earlier, but, say what you guys want about Wright State basketball. Tanner and Trey are two of the best to ever play there.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a lot of years of Wright State. Like, these two are very unique. They're very different. There's still good players on this roster. There's good players coming next year. I don't think the town really truly understands just how special that those two are. They're very, very good, and I really hope that we can get to Indianapolis and have a chance to get back to the tournament.
Absolutely. I mean, let's pack the joint tomorrow. I mean, on Thursday night. I'm going to be at the game. You're going to be called in the game. I mean, this is a very special group. Like, you can rewind to the year that they did make the tournament, ultimately played at UD and got their first tournament win. Like, these are the same guys that were on that team. Let's support them this upcoming Thursday.
All right, so the Dayton Flyers in action tonight. They play St. Louis. St. Louis, one of the worst teams in the A10. But right now for Dayton, you look at a team that's 22-6. They're the number 25 team in the country. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to the NCAA tournament. Why should we be talking about negatives right now? I'm not trying to be negative. I'm being realistic. The bottom line is that, yes, they're the number 25 team in the country. But when you look at the standings in the A10, all right, Dayton coming in third in the A10. They're the only top 25 team in the A10, and they come in at number 3. My concern, my problem is this, and I'm not saying that the teams around them, like Richmond and Loyola, are 1 and 2 in the A10. Dayton comes in at number 3, VCU at number 4. The problem I have with Dayton, I can't realistically look at them as one of the top 25 teams in the country. How can they be one of the top teams in the country when they haven't even beaten one of the best teams in their conference? They haven't beat the 1 or the 2 seed, or the seed, the first or the second place team. They haven't beat the 4th place team in the league. All right. They lost to George Mason, who's 7-9 in A10 play. I'm not hating. I'm being realistic. And at this point of the season, they're going to the NCAA tournament. But you get to the NCAA tournament, you play good teams. They're not beating good teams. They're not beating good teams at all. And they played St. Louis a few weeks ago, or about a month ago, and they won by 5 at UD Arena. They're on the road tonight. I think they're like a 10.5-point favorite. Knowing how Dayton operates, they're coming off of a loss. They're probably going to wipe the floor with St. Louis tonight. And then Flyer fans are going to buy back in, and then we're going to see the topsy-turvy season we've been seeing from them. I don't like we'll worry about VCU later. They get a win tonight. They blow out St. Louis. But Kev, I'm not hating. All the top teams in the A10, they haven't beat them. And it's not like it's 1 or 2. They haven't beat the 1st place team, the 2nd place team, or the 4th place team. They're sitting in the 3rd spot, and they lost to the 7th place team in George Mason. So they got problems. It's not that no one needs to jump over. No one, you know what I mean? It's not like panic season. I just don't think this team is as good as everyone thinks they are. And as I said last week, having a number in front of their name is the worst thing that is possible. Because I'm looking at it like, from a top 25 perspective, who's not feeling pressure is Loyola. They don't have a number in front of their name, so all they're looking at themselves is, how do we just be the best version of ourselves within our conference? They don't have that top 25 pressure. Dayton, unfortunately, does. They have the pressure of having to go out and be the best team in the league with the best player in the league and one of the best teams in the country, but they're not one of the best teams in the country, and they're struggling to be a top team in their own conference right now, and that's a concern heading into the conference tournament here next week and the NCAA tournament here in a few weeks.
Yeah, like you said, these are very critical games for the Flyers. I mean, you got 2 games left, 1 on the road, obviously tonight, and then they end things on Friday night down at the arena before the A10 tournament. I think it's so important for them to go into the A10 tournament with some momentum. Yep. I mean, that Loyola loss. I mean, I think we all saw that coming. I think, like, as well as they played, they just didn't play well enough. I remember, I believe it was Cheeks that just took what I believe was just like one of the worst 3-pointers I've ever seen in my life. Like, dude, go to the rack, go to the rim. They're collapsing on you every time. And guess what? You got Duran right there to drop it off to, or play through, the best player on your team. I thought and it was at a critical moment in the game as well. Like, they had cut the lead down to 3, I believe. So like those just little small things, I'm sure coach is working on and all that type of stuff. But I think it's critical for them to win these last 2 games of the regular season before going into the A10 tournament, because you got to get some momentum going good, not only for the players, because they're the most important people, but for the fan base as well. I mean, I know you talk about like fans, like once they win a game, they're jumping from joy. I know UD fans out there that are biting their nails and not happy with the way they've been playing this back half of the season. Well, not even the back half, but basically these last couple games. So I think it's critical for them to have momentum going into the big dance. Question for you. How many teams from the A10 get into the big dance? Because we know UD is basically a lock. Like, are they going to get 3? Are they going to get 4?
So if you have a door that has the regular lock and the padlock, Dayton has the regular lock.
Mm-hmm.
That padlock's still open. I don't think that I think, look, they're going to beat St. Louis tonight. And if not, then we got real problems.
Mm-hmm.
But if they lose, Shaw, you make a good point. If they lose to VCU and then win one game in the A-10 and then get bounced, this is where I start talking about like Ohio State on the come up and other stuff. And I'm not doing the Buckeye, the elitism and all that stuff. But it's like, you look at Ohio State beating Purdue, you look at Ohio State beating the Michigan States and getting quad 1 wins and beating actual, it may not be ranked teams, but Dayton's not beating ranked teams either. And I guess their bad teams are better than your bad teams. This is where I start leaning in favor of Ohio State making it over Dayton, but they're not in the same conversation. But Ohio State's resume doesn't look the best because their win-loss record, but their quad wins are better than Dayton's as far as that goes. Dayton's I'm 95% sure they're going to make the tournament, but that, I need to see how they look tonight. The problem is, I don't know what the status of Bennett is. He only played 17 minutes. There's, rumors and talks of the significance of that injury right there. So that's going to play a huge role on how Dayton closes out, not just this season, but the conference tournament as well. I just don't know if they're built to make a long conference tournament run, especially if Bennett's out. If Duran's not on that floor, if Duran's not on this roster, they're fighting with St. Louis for the bottom of the A-10. They are not that good. That's how good Duran is. Duran, I was like back and forth. A-10, not back and forth, but I'm like, he's very, very good. But how good is he? Oh, he's very good. Because the only reason they have a shot to beat these damn good teams is because of him. Because everyone else is average at best on a good night. Duran has to have these NBA type nights, so they don't have a shot.
And not only obviously on the offensive end, but he's a deterrent on the defensive end as well. Like, he's a shot blocker, he runs the floor, he makes people change shots.
You asked, I didn't answer your question. Loyola and Dayton. I'm sorry, totally. You asked how many teams. Dayton, yes.
So it's gonna be Dayton. It's gonna be the conference. So 3
potentially.
3 for sure.
Yep.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yep. I could see. Oh, let me rephrase. Dayton, yes. I think Richmond's in, but Loyola, if they can win, that win over Dayton was big for them. If they can go out hot, win a couple games in the A-10, I think they could be 2 to 3 teams. 2 to 3 teams. A while back, I thought it was a one-bid league, but Richmond's pretty good, and Loyola looked really good the other night. Loyola has shooters, they have scorers, they have rebounders, shot blockers. They could do a little bit of everything. So
Fair
we'll
enough.
see. We'll talk Ohio State basketball later on in the week because they got a game on Thursday night. We'll talk more about that later on as well. So no, Friday night. So Dayton, St. Louis tonight, Wright State, NKU quarterfinal conference tournament action on Thursday. Ohio State later on in the week. Can they play their way into the bubble? We'll keep an eye on that. We're going to have Joe Lenardi on later this week, and Clark Kellogg, we're going to be chatting with him. We got a lot to iron out in the college basketball world. I love when Wright State's in the mix. I love when Dayton's in the mix. I love when Ohio State's in the mix. March was kind of boring last year. It was very boring last year. It's a lot more entertaining this year as far as that's concerned. All right, folks, we'll step away for a few moments. When we come back, College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byers, we're going to chat with him, and we're actually going to chat with him. When we say we're going to have a guest on, we're actually talking to that guest. We're not pretending to have a guest on and just play 15 minutes of a press conference. That drives me crazy. I heard it we're going to have Kevin Stefanski on the program, and then you air 15 minutes of a press conference of Kevin Stefanski. That is not someone got mad at me that how come you don't get Kevin Stefanski on? What are you talking about? The other show got Kevin. No, the other show leads you to think that. I'm not going to go down on that. Nope. Kev, I'm sorry. We're going to go to break. It's a kidder. We'll be right back. 1410 ESPN Radio. Keith Byers next.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio.